Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the cross-platform podcast. Something that we couldn't even think of a name for a long time, but thanks to T here, you were able to think of a name for now. Hopefully, it's not taken anywhere else. It's Sunday, July 14th. I'm Jay Sharpie. I'm here with my co-host, Zeldrick at Lady Infamous and Unsheep Productions. We'll still consider calling him T. Let's see. We're going to be talking about the Nintendo Switch Lite, the Steam's new interactive recommender, Sean Murray, and and a lot more things. So yeah, we have a bunch of great topics for you this week. But first, let's talk about everybody's week. So Zeldrick, what did you do this past week?
I hate that I'm first. Just because only because I did not really have much of a week. I've only been playing a little bit of Shadowbringers, and life is catching up to me. I'm a bit too busy with real life stuff at the moment, and but with Shadowbringers, I finally hit the first level 79 quest of the main story campaign. And for anybody else that knows, it's the dwarves. We did some quests with the dwarves, and that's about where we're at. So I'm excited. I'm excited that I think it's going to be my next stream is going to be the last one that until we hit credits. So I can't wait to hit that endgame.
Cool. Anything else?
No, that's it. Actually, one more thing was that my plans for whatever games I was gonna be streaming or playing changed just because I got a couple of games gifted to me, and it's gonna be ukulele next. So.
All right, cool. Okay, let's go on with Lady Infamous. How was your week?
My week, life-wise, it was kind of tough, but it's good that I get to play some video games to like release some stress because that's always great. I started playing. Oh, I I already said I finished This Is a Police 2 last week. I played Mafia 3 this week. I haven't played any of the Mafia games, so Mafia 3 is like the first one I ever played. Also been playing some Rainbow Six Siege. I'm gonna try to play some more rank matches. I think that there's a certain different kind of strategy in it versus casual. I'm more laid back and casual, but with rank, you got to be more serious about it. Um, Also, I've been playing a little bit of throwback Call of Duty, Black Ops 1. I've been playing the Zombie Collection. I played that Friday. I played like 5 maps, solo runs on my favorite maps on Call of Duty Black Ops 1. Played a little bit of multiplayer in 2019. It's just interesting and very nostalgic. And then I got a couple of games that I'm trying to play. I think I'm going to play some Gears 4 Friday, and I'm planning to get Wolfenstein, uh, the co-op, the daughter prequel, next 2 weeks from now. So my gaming is stacked. So keeps me busy. I like it.
What do you think about Mafia 3 so far?
I like it.
What is it about it that you like?
I I know that Mafia is if I'm correct, is mostly on Italian mafia, Italian gangs and stuff like that. So it's good for me to see like, yo. um, I like that the protagonist is not just a hood gangster working his way up to get get revenge. He was a soldier, so he knows like skills, like military skills, that which I like. Um, I like the RPG of it. Not the RPG of it, the open world of this. I like that as well. I like that it's very aesthetic with the time frame that I like. The violence, oh my god. I'm gripping my seat as I'm talking about the violence in this game. It's tasteful and I like it, so I'm enjoying it. I'm planning to play it on Wednesday.
Cool. Yeah, I remember I played the first Mafia and I game flight it and I beat it in like 2 or 3 days back
Oh
in the day.
really?
Yeah, that was a long time ago though.
But I've been playing it like in 3 hour bursts,
Hmm.
so I should be done probably next week if I don't do the extra stuff. If I go straight with the story, it shouldn't be that long. I'm already at Vito. If I don't know how far that is, but
Well,
that's where I stopped at.
the thing is that well, it's not really like, oh, I'm at Vito, but it ends up, it starts to branch out, and you can go to a couple different places. It's more about how many underbosses do you have now.
So that's what I should take a look at when I come back and play it on Wednesday.
Yeah, like how many underbosses you have now, and then because in total there's 3. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and then it's not really like after you get them, then it's gonna be the end of the game. It keeps going. It keeps going for a while after that. So, I kind of think that you're not really like halfway through.
Oh, okay. That's all. I'm cool. I wasn't trying to rush it. I just wanted to know. I just want to know how far I am. I just met Vito, and I just liberated Cassandra, and she's a little mob boss now. So I know that I got to meet a couple of more people before even thinking about is it the end of the game. So
yeah, Vito's great in that game. Like Vito was in the second one in Mafia 2, and then just him being in 3, it links a couple of things together and no, like, I guess for me, since I did play Mafia 2 and then him being in 3, I was like, oh yeah, I know this guy. Yeah, it was really cool. So
I thought I heard 3 wasn't very good.
that is buyer's choice. But
okay.
I'm
enjoying
it. Of course, but I mean,
I'm enjoying it.
I think you guys are the first ones that I've heard say they enjoyed it. Is what I mean.
Man, look, I play Kingdom Come, and that shit is not my way.
You also liked Final Fantasy 13.
Hey, leave me alone. It's still good. But yeah, for someone who never played a Mafia game, I'm enjoying it. That's all that matters.
Yeah, I think if I ever get to play it, then I have high expectations.
It was free.
It was free.
It was free. The Mafia game was free.
You're not talking about the Facebook game, right?
No, I'm talking about the PS. I'm talking about the PS4 game that was free. I think a month ago or a couple of months ago. It was a Mafia 3 was a free game. I played. Well, it wasn't free on Xbox. It's never been free on Xbox.
Oh, okay. Well, the most that I heard that was bad about Mafia 3 was, well, some people didn't like the protagonist and the story, but then, like, other than that, it was how the game ran. And they found it also repetitive with a lot of the side stuff. But that is if you did side stuff. So, and if you cared to do so.
Is it one of those classic open world / MMO type of quests, like fetch quests?
There's no MMO nowhere in Mafia 3, man.
No, and it's not really like, oh, you go out to get collectibles or some shit like that. There's missions dotted around, but you have core missions that you have to do to make a district that's yours. And then if you wanted to, you could keep going with it with side quests. And some of them tend to be the same. And I guess that's the down part of what I could say about Mafia 3 is that a lot of the side quests do tend to repeat themselves, sometimes within and then sometimes branching out. And what I can say is that I wish that the game mechanics that were in the DLC were actually a part of the main core game, because they add variety in the DLC. And that's a down point for me, because not having that variety within the main core game is like, well, fork over another $20, $30 for DLC, and there you go. There's your variety.
All right, cool. Anything else that happened with you, Lady Infamous?
No.
No. All right, cool. Let's get on with it then. T, how was your week?
Um, let's see. My week was pretty uneventful. I think with respect to gaming. I had mentioned last week that because of committing to other things like working out and side projects and stuff, I hadn't been playing many games, and that kind of extended into this week. And it didn't help that I was traveling this weekend too. I'm actually in Dallas right now, but it basically has been the exact same thing. The most that I've gotten done in terms of gaming has been, oddly enough, I actually was able to beat a mobile game, which it sounds like really weird.
What is it?
It's a game called I think it's called Go Home, and essentially what it is, there's been a couple of games that I've seen on the PC that are kind of similar to this game, but the idea is you have this little kind of polygonal character that all you're supposed to do is try to get him from basically the beginning of the level to this house. The house is essentially the exit. And, it makes it look super simple. You're just like standing on some grass or whatever, and the house is at the other side of the screen. And, you take 3 steps forward and some spikes come out of the ground. Or like, you have to jump up and then all of a sudden a platform appears or something. And it's just kind of like this sort of puzzle platformer light, where, like I said, you just kind of have to figure out what all the hidden things are in the level in order to make it to the end point. It's pretty cool. I think it was probably a total of like 110 levels or something like that. And they go relatively quickly as long as you like figure them out pretty quickly. And there's a hint system and all that, where of course, because it's a mobile game, you can buy hints. They make the game sometimes the levels are extremely difficult to figure out, and they're like, oh yeah, if you want to get a hint, it'll cost this much, this many diamonds or something, whatever the currency is in that, and you can buy them if you want to. But yeah, that's kind of been my gaming for the week. Oh, that, and I got a chance to try Dr. Mario World, which I don't know if people didn't know that.
The mobile game? Yeah,
the mobile game.
How is that?
It's interesting. I didn't get like super far into it because I actually wasn't that big of a. I didn't play Dr. Mario really when it was on the Nintendo. I think I played it a couple times, but I didn't really get into it the same way, for example, a lot of us got into Tetris. But it's interesting. It kind of looks similar. They obviously updated the graphics and stuff like that, but same exact game for the most part, other than in the original game, I think Mario would throw the pills out onto the screen. And then they would drop down.
Pills.
Oh yeah, Mario's a pusher. He would throw pills out to the screen, and then they would fall down, and you could like move them where you wanted them to go. And this one, you can kind of like rotate the pills and position them, and then you let them go, and then they move into place, but they go upward instead of downward. Which I don't really know if that changes the dynamic at all. I'm not really sure what that design decision was for, but yeah, I mean, it was all right so far. I really was inspired to try it basically because now that I think about it, I also tried Mario Run. Just because like I was I'm curious why Nintendo's like making all of these mobile games now, and I'm wondering how well they hold up against like the original. And that one was fun, except for the fact that I think might have been after 10 levels or something, they were like, oh, you can buy the game, and it was like $10, and I was like, oh, you bugging. I'm not paying $10 for this. So
well, it's just a one-time payment. It's not like...
Yeah, I know.
It don't matter.
That's a lot. I don't know.
Though.
I don't think I've ever paid $10 for a mobile game, and it's not like when you play it, you feel like you're playing Mario. It's completely different. I think the only way you can die in that game, really, for example, is to fall inside, like to fall down a hole. Not even this. Like if you run into a Goomba, they auto bounce off the Goomba and stuff like that. So it's not like it's exactly giving you that Mario experience that you grew up playing. It's definitely different. And in that sense, I'm just like, I don't know if it's worth $10 for me personally. But But yeah, that's been all my gaming for this week.
It says that this game can be played with one hand.
Well, yeah, because you just tap.
Were you
with
able
your
to
thumb.
play video, eat and play this at the same time?
I didn't try.
Exactly the same time.
I'm sure you can, but I didn't try. But yeah, theoretically, like I said, you really just tap with one thumb, so they're not lying. You could play it with one hand. Whether or not like your attention could be diverted, that's a different story. I mean, technically, as far as I played, there was like unlimited lives. You could always like go back and try again. So, it's not like it didn't feel like there'd be really any penalties for dying because you're not paying attention. But it definitely is a one finger game. So,
cool. Anything else that happened?
No. Other than that, it's just been kind of work and doing a little bit of editing on the side, but that's about it. Nothing really gaming related.
What are you doing in Dallas?
The same thing I've been doing for like a lot of the travel that I've been doing is kind of shooting content for like the travel series I'm trying to do. So I've been just kind of, I think I still have 20, no wait, that's 5 now, 16 more trips this year. Where I'm going to be shooting stuff. So and content will start coming out pretty soon. I'm actually going to put one video out this week. So,
for real, finally.
Takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work.
I understand. I can't wait.
But yeah,
I want to see what you come up with.
It should be fun. It'll be interesting.
How long are you going to be there for?
Well, I'll come back tomorrow morning.
Morning?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I just fly out after work on Friday and then fly back in Monday morning usually because I could just go to like San Jose International and it's right near work. I get there in 15 minutes. So it's a quick, nice little weekend trip.
All right. Cool. All right. And I guess it's my turn now.
Mm-hmm.
I started playing Crosscode.
What is Crosscode?
It's like Secret of Mana and Secret of Evermore.
And what are those?
Oh, okay. So it's like an action RPG. Like, it's like a SNES game. But they added like a lot of stuff that would be considered modern. They modernized it, I should say. Where you can do stuff like, what would you say? I don't remember too much about the previous, like the Secret of Mana and Secret of Evermore. I don't remember too much about it, even though the remake came out like not too long ago. But it has like they give you like you're in an MMO world and you're an avatar playing in this MMO world. I don't know too much about what's going to be happening because I'm not too far into the game, but it gives you they did a really good job on making the character, like developing the characters so far. And what they do is they make you go through these tutorials where it teaches you how to dodge and all that by going through this, what would you call it, like this basement area, I guess. It's
okay.
Yeah, I don't know how I should explain this game. It's basically, I mean, how would you describe Secret of Mana?
Well, Super Nintendo like action RPG. You are walking around and you're slicing and stuff. You have RPG elements.
Yeah.
There's really. Does it confine you into a space when you go into a battle, or is it you're still walking around?
You can go anywhere that you want.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. And the only way to jump in that game is kind of like how the Nintendo 64 Zelda games were like, where you can only jump if you're at the when you're hitting the edge of a cliff.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only way to jump in that game. And I was like, oh yeah, this actually works out pretty well, because they do a lot of these puzzles where you have to find how to get to this one item, even though the item's optional, but you want to get it because it's there. And so, like they make you jump on a bunch of platforms, and then like right now I'm still in the beginning of the game, so they're pretty easy. So what I end up doing is I go from the item, and then I go backwards to see how the pathing should be, and then that way I know where to start. But other than that, I can't really say much because I'm only like 6 or 7 hours into the game, and a lot has happened because a lot of them are side quests, and they do act like MMO side quests because you're in the MMO world.
Mm-hmm.
They say like they say things like oh, because this is an MMO, like we can party up, and then like you can choose who to party as long as they're quote unquote online in the game. Yeah, so that was very interesting, and the controls, it's not tight, but it is fluid. I'll give it that much. Like
Okay.
But it does. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. It's actually a really good for what it is, and like it was kind of weird that the attack controls and the block controls are all like the shoulder buttons.
That's
That was
really
kind of
weird.
yeah.
I think
thought
that's
that was
really weird, but that reminds me of like Dark Souls, because you swing with one and then block with the other.
Yeah.
So,
but from a classic SNES type of gameplay, like that was kind of
yeah,
weird.
that's
at
really
first.
weird.
Yeah. I have a feeling they might actually do something with the other face buttons too. So I'll have to see about that.
Okay.
Other than that, I mean, I went to an audition on Wednesday.
Ooh.
For a commercial?
I have no idea. My agent just called me and
it was
said,
like a blind.
Agent?
Yeah, he has an agent. You know that?
No.
He's an actor. He's an actor. He's a thespian.
Really?
No.
Yeah. So, and then at the audition, it was just me with like 6 girls around. I was like saying, I wonder if I'm at the right spot, because it was like I was like the only guy there.
Hey, you
But
never
whatever.
know. They might need a guy to play a girl's position.
I'll say I've seen you do it before, dude.
I even have pictures on Facebook about it too, of me as a girl. No, but it was kind of weird. The audition was like, well, I can't really say. I signed an NDA, so I can't really say.
You learn new stuff every day.
I think we'll just leave it at that cliffhanger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now I gotta find you.
Yeah, I think it was like something to do with like internet commercial or something online. It said something about online. The shoot day's only like 1 day too. Yeah, and during that, what's funny is that I got bit by a flea that was apparently in my jacket, and it was like I got bit all over my hand. Like
the infestation continues. God damn it!
Yeah.
You can't smoke bomb your room?
Here you did.
I already did like 3 times.
Man, you gotta ask the landlord to handle that business, cuz. I mean,
yeah.
If you pay, it's just me. That's just me. I mean, I'm not gonna pay rent and get bit by fleas. That's just gonna.
He lives in a house, right?
Yeah, with my grandpa.
Yeah. Did you get the raccoons out?
No, but we did get an exterminator, or like, would you consider an exterminator? Like a person that takes care of that.
Animal control, maybe. I don't know.
Animal control. I don't know. And we put up like capture cages on like some openings outside the building.
Okay.
Yeah. And then like they also swept up the dirt too, so we can track footprints.
Wait, what? They swept
up
the dirt?
Other than that, yeah, they swept the dirt so it's like more flat.
Oh, gotcha.
And clean.
Gotcha.
Yeah. That way it can capture the footprints. Yeah, so there is that too. Other than that, I played more Final Fantasy 14, and after many attempts of trying to do one of the extreme bosses, like I finally beat it. I've seen it in Rage multiple times, but I never got around to killing it. I'm not gonna say what the boss is because you haven't even gotten around, but you probably have an idea what it is by now.
I've already heard two names. It's Titania and Innocence. So those are the
Okay,
only
yeah.
two names I've ever heard.
So I beat Titania Extreme.
Yeah.
And yeah, it like there were times where I was trying to figure out like if it was me that's not dishing out DPS, so I try to figure out if it was just me, but you know, I'm a tank. I play a tank. So it's just like no, it's definitely not me. Something's not right here.
No, that's that's endgame life. Like
Yeah.
you go through like so many parties of extreme primals and just hoping one of them is not going to disband after the second wipe. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
And
Well, it was
I
a
don't know
bunch of learning parties, which I'm glad that they have in these
I'm glad
party
that they have that
finders.
too, but then like sometimes even with those when people make a quote learning party and tag it as such, yeah, people still treat it the same way. That like, oh, well, I mean, we wiped it twice. I'm gonna get the fuck out of here or disband the party. So
yeah, good thing everybody was a good sport about it. Well, at least the last 4 times that I actually attempted it.
yeah.
And this last time, we had like a very experienced guy who was more geared than me when it came to tanking. So clearly he beaten this multiple times. So I think he helped with DPS too, which is yeah. So there was that too. I mean, we've seen it in Rage once, probably because people kept dying, and you know you lose DPS from that. But other than
dying
that,
because of stupid shit.
Yeah. Other than that, now I'm trying to do the other extreme, which I have yet to do yet. I haven't even started
Good luck
it.
with that.
Yeah. I heard that this one has tank swapping, so I have to get prepared for that
And
too.
fucking get used to that.
Last time I remember doing that was Ultima. Back in the day.
Exactly. If you're not used to tank swap, well, also you haven't been keeping up with a lot of the Final Fantasy 14, like as for like current content. So like tank swapping is like a new mechanic for you. So just make sure you have Shirk. Just make sure you have that.
Yeah, well, I remember a while ago that never even existed. It's okay. I have a button that's set next to the tank where I can just click on it and then it automatically targets the other tank and then it casts Shirk on them.
Okay, good.
Can y'all please explain what all of that means?
Okay. Yo, as soon as they said Final Fantasy 14, yo, I zoned out. I was like, okay, I know what time it is, but it's not. I'm not tripping though. You know,
no. I mean, it's fine. Like, the two things to really explain about that, and Lady Infamous, if you actually do start up Final Fantasy 14 with a trial, like, this might be useful. Tank swapping just means that the boss is going to do a move that is going to put a vulnerability down or hit them with a lot of damage, and then you have to switch tanks to a different. You have to make the boss pay attention to the other tank in the party, and then you switch places and then continue the fight. Shirk is a move where you give your top hate to a different player. So you give all your I think it's not all aggro, but you give all of or the top amount of aggro or hate to the person you target. So
yeah, basically you're just putting all your threat to the other person using the Shirk move. Yeah, I mean you'll get it once you if you start playing it.
I'll get if I start playing it.
If you start playing it, but like I if you want to like start it out and learn about it, like I'm already planning on doing like beginner learning streams by leveling White Mage and going through content as White Mage, because as White Mage, since it's easy to heal as White Mage, I can talk about mechanics and say, oh, you press this button and you this button, and then everybody does damage and like do a wide heal, and then that's pretty much it. So my experience with White Mage is that it's really easy, so I'm able to talk about mechanics more.
Nice. Can't wait to like get some time to actually try it out. It's a little overwhelming. I will try it. Look, I will. If I may not like it, but at least I'll try it.
I would say this. I think Final Fantasy 14 as an MMO, I think out of all the MMOs I ever played, like the top MMOs I played, like EverQuest and WoW and all that, it's probably the most user friendly, I should say, when it comes to introducing people into the game, other than the first 50 level of grind. But I have
a question. Can you play with a controller?
Yes.
Yes.
It's also the only MMO that can be played with a controller that does it well.
At the moment, we don't know about Phantasy Star Online too, but
okay.
But Lady Infamous, I actually linked an article to my Discord about getting into Final Fantasy 14 in 2019. It was written by Kotaku, but like I read all of it, and it was pretty spot on and user friendly. So if you want to take a read, I can give it to you.
You can put it DM me on Discord.
Yeah, I'll give it to you there.
Mm-hmm. But other than that, that's all I did this week. I guess that's all I really did. So that went by really quickly this week. Everybody seemed very busy outside of gaming this week.
Because we are adults, we have bills to pay, we got things we need to do. We have to take care of the real world stuff before we can be able to game like we want to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
all right. All right. So let's start off with the news then. So Nintendo Switch Lite. I saw it on my YouTube feed, like, and then it was only an hour. It was like an hour. It's been up for like an hour, and I was like saying, "Oh shit, what is this?" And then it's already had like millions of views within the first hour.
So when I heard of just the name Nintendo Switch Lite, it was just popping up on my phone of like Google Newsfeed, fucking whatever, and it's like, oh man, announced or a name drop of the Switch Lite. It's like, okay, it's a new one, whatever. And then a couple more pop ups, like pretty much telling me the same thing. It's like, okay, I'm kind of interested. What are they gonna do? How are they gonna make this the Lite? And then the exact news of it's portable only. I'm like, I'm over it. I'm done.
Yeah. So based on what do you call it? Digital Foundry. I was watching their video on this, and they said like this is not the Nintendo Switch 2, or like the revision of a Nintendo Switch. This is just a light version of the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, it's basically like their new handheld.
Basically, yeah. I mean, Switch is kind of a handheld already.
Yeah, but it's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird that they call it a Switch still, because I assume the entire reason for that was the fact that you could switch from having it be more of a traditional console to being a handheld. But now this new one is basically just a handheld. So it kind of kills the whole point of the name Switch. But
the Switch is, the title is a little misleading.
Now it is.
Yeah.
Might as well just call it Nintendo Portable.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Actually, that doesn't sound bad at all.
It totally makes sense.
Right? But as far as for like the quality of it, I mean, is it just like the original Nintendo Switch? Like as it is portable with the type of power behind it and everything? Is it the same as that?
I think it has more battery life because it's smaller.
Good.
Yeah.
If it's gonna be portable only, it better have a better battery.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like
I think that's what I read.
Yeah, it seemed like, I mean, I'm just going off of what they announced in Nintendo's like official video, but it seemed like they were implying that the main changes were just that now the controller's locked to the body, and the I guess the thing that kind of senses movement that you could use for more the kind of like gimmicky Nintendo, I think like 1-2 switch type games. I forget what they call it now.
Oh, like accelerometer?
Yeah, it might be an accelerometer. I don't know what the exact word they used was, but yeah, it doesn't have that anymore. So it seemed like there was very minimal changes to it other than that, and then better battery life.
Yeah, I think this was designed for like parents that doesn't want to spend a lot of money for their kids.
This is $200. This is a lot of money.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not $300.
Yo, that's a big price tag.
$300 is a bigger price tag.
Honestly,
but I'd rather pay for the Switch than the Lite if I had the money.
Just like owning a Switch. Does anybody else own a Switch? I don't know.
I do.
You do, Sharpie? Oh, that's right, because you played like Octopath.
Yeah.
So to me, just watching the video, it felt to me like it was more so kind of addressing the issues that the Switch has as a handheld, in the sense that, like, I don't know if you feel it, but I feel like that thing is, half the time if I hold that Switch, I feel like it's going to break on me. Not because it's not built well, but just because, like, I don't know, the center is kind of heavy comparatively to the joysticks and stuff like that. I always feel like I'm going to break it. And just looking at that, it kind of felt more like the Nintendo DS, where it almost seems like you could throw that thing at a wall and it would still work. Like the Switch itself feels really kind of fragile to me.
That means the guy.
Well, I mean, Nintendo has a history on very durable handhelds.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's not a build quality thing. It's not like for the current Switch, it's not a build quality thing. I think they make really durable devices in general. But like, I don't know, just the fact that it's like that whole unibody thing. I think the feeling that I get mostly when I hold the Switch is like, if you hold it up with one hand, I almost feel like the thing is going to just like snap and like the other side is going to fall off or something like that. And just if it's just one unibody like device, I don't know. It just kind of reminds me of the DS, because the DS, when I had that, like it felt like you could literally do anything with that and it would never break on you. So
the original DS, not the Lite.
I don't think I own the Lite. I think I only had the original,
like the
DS.
big bulky DS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure there's
it's also cheaper too.
Yeah,
so
totally.
It's for people on a budget.
Totally.
I still just feel like, I mean, fork over another $100 so you can play it on a big screen and have the extra power behind.
Play with your friends.
Well, you can already play with your friends with the Lite. You hook it up to the Wi-Fi or do local co-op on that. You can already do that. They were showing it off in the video. It's not a solo only Nintendo Switch version, but I kind of feel the same way as T does with the kind of not it feeling fragile, but like. With the original Nintendo Switch, because I played my friends at work, and just having the entire screen and then the Joy-Cons on the ends, I kind of feel like that the middle I could just like twist and then snap.
That's exactly what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's just me. The other thing being, that's fucking wide enough as it is. I'm already awkward with trying to hold it and playing Smash at the same time. I would not get this, but I don't want portable. I'm not mainly portable. That's my argument. And if I want to play portable, I got a couple of phone games I can fiddle with for like 2 minutes and then get back to work. So
I mean, I think in essence we might be kind of saying the same thing as like Sharpie, partially because you're an adult, but like you could get a Switch and take care of it. But I think kind of along the lines with what Sharpie was saying in terms of like parents wanting something cheaper, they probably also want something that's a little bit more kid friendly, in the sense that, like I was trying to say, like it seems like it's going to be like way more durable than the Switch, so they can give it to a little, not spend all their money, give it to a little kid, and not specifically worry about them breaking it and having to get a new one. Like, I don't know. It does seem like it's probably
Well,
marketed pretty well for like parents.
I don't know. I mean, like,
It's gonna be a
even
hot item. It's gonna be a hot item.
I guess
Christmas
so.
time.
hmm
Almost
that's what
every
I'm guessing.
Nintendo release is a hot item somehow. So yeah, you're 100% right on that.
Trying to be smart.
Yeah.
No,
well,
you're right. Nintendo items are a hot item during the during holiday season. They usually are.
yeah. Well, not only that, this is not the revision of the Switch from based on what we hear from Digital Foundry. So there's that too. I mean, they said something about like a more updated NVIDIA X1 processor for the new one. So that we gotta wait for that, I guess. Although we haven't heard anything about it. All right, so let's continue on. Rise of the Minis. T, this was your topic, right?
Yeah. So this wasn't like, I think, kind of in a little bit different of a vein than some of the other topics. This wasn't really like centered on a specific article or anything. It was just kind of an observation based on the fact that, you know, there was talk of, well, there was like that release trailer for that PC Engine Core Graphics Mini, which, if anybody didn't know, that's like PC Engine and Turbo Graphics 16 games. It's the equivalent with, I don't remember who makes the Turbo Graphics 16, or if that was the name. Was that wasn't the name of the company, right?
I don't know.
Do you guys remember? Okay, yeah.
When it comes to classic hardware, I don't know.
It was just
too
like
much about
some
it.
classic hardware, and they're doing like a kind of updated revision for it. I don't know if you guys specifically remember it. I didn't. I remember the TurboGrafx 16 as being like this little handheld that no one had. Like, literally did not ever see one in the wild.
Well,
Sorry, go ahead.
the TurboGrafx is 89, so
Yeah.
this was before I was born.
Oh, okay. Well,
and then
the PC Engine was before that. So
still, like,
no, I was saying the PC Engine was before that, so you guaranteed didn't see one of those.
Right. So I've heard of TurboGrafx 16. I just never knew what the fuck was on it.
Yeah, yeah. So essentially, like, when I saw that there was an announcement for like this new kind of classic console, little mini classic console, like the thing that sort of initially sparked in my head, and this is why I listed, like, I showed all the different ones that I knew were coming out or were already out, is, do you guys think that we really need these things? The question being because, and I guess I already have your answer on that. Well, number one, obviously there's the whole emulator issue where most of like the more classic or retro or whatever you want to call it games are available in some fashion via emulator. But there's also the concept of, I think I'm getting a little bit annoyed with people trying to resell games to you that you've already played without really doing much to change them, especially considering, like, you know, I think of the NES, the mini NES and the mini SNES, where I'm like, oh, these are old games I used to love, but I'm like, they don't really look any different. They cost like $60, and I'm like, I could buy a hard drive and store like probably 400 times the number of games on that hard drive. And like, I don't know why they're
speaking to the wrong.
Yeah, go ahead.
You're speaking to the wrong demographic. You're speaking, but these minis, the demographic that goes to them is it goes to people that are collectors, and then you have anybody that is over the age of 35 that is like, oh yeah, I remember these games that I played back when 15, 20, 25 years ago. And let me get this, and I can play on the controller that I used to play, and all this. Look, it's so cool and it's neat. That's what it is.
But you realize
that's exactly the demographic that
you realize I'm 37, right?
Huh?
Like, I'm their demographic.
I'm sorry,
apparently.
say that again. Yeah, exactly. And most of that demographic does not do the stuff that you do.
No, I totally understand that. But I guess So there's a couple of links that I included at the end of like at the end of this topic as well in our notes, and I don't know if anybody checked those out, but the reason I included those is because the initial thought that I had was like, instead of selling us the same game over and over again, at this point, the PCs that we have, that literally everyone has, like this isn't even like Tyrone being a gamer or like, you know, anybody else not being a gamer.
Even office PCs,
yeah, even office PCs at this point are so many leaps and bounds more powerful, for example, than a Nintendo. So my question is, like, why aren't there, for example, services? Let's say you have your Nintendo eShop that they try to do, and you have your Xbox Live Store and stuff like that. Do you guys think it would make more sense to have, for example, a browser-based service where you could buy these games and just play them directly out of your browser?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Because I'm thinking like, you want to play the original like Mario. We all know we could play the original Mario out of a browser if you just made like a browser-based emulator to do it. And then they could say, I honestly wouldn't mind at that point if they were like, oh, any Nintendo game you want, 99 cents or $1.99 or something like that. I'd do that as long as I knew it was going to stay available to me long term. And it should, considering it's browser-based. Theoretically, it should be able to stay available to you long term. But like I keep seeing things like this mini, and then like it's like, oh, you can get the original Mario on like the Nintendo eShop for your Switch, and then you could get like, I think Nintendo might be the biggest offender in my opinion, but
I feel you what you're saying. I think that they'll make more money putting hardware, making cheap hardware, and just sticking the games in there, and you know, making them ridiculously expensive, because that PlayStation Mini was $100 when it first came out, and I think with services, I think it takes more maintenance, which I believe costs more money. I ain't gonna front though. The Super NES Classic looks nice.
Yeah, but I think it came with like 20 games, and I think it was like, wasn't it $70, $79.99 or something like that?
I wait till the price go down.
But think about what you're saying though. You're waiting for the price to go down, meaning that's not worth it to you. That's my whole point. Is it worth it to have to rebuy them every time at something close to like? They still keep trying to overprice everything.
They want $79.99 right now. Yeah, and that they want $79.99 for that.
Yeah, so there's like emulators you can play that are free, and I'm not saying it needs to be free. If they develop their own in-house service, then
y'all send me some links because I want to play Super Mario World.
Well, Nintendo kind of locked down a lot of like the sites with the ROMs. So,
I heard about Nintendo, but I can play like for example, Metal Gear Solid, the original one. Oh my god, I want to play that. But that was probably like the only game from the PS Classic that I wanted to play.
Well,
it's just
was
hardware.
That in the Classic?
It's just hardware.
Oh, yeah. I remember. Okay.
Yeah. So I remember when the PlayStation Classic first came out, I was watching a Gamers Nexus video about it, and he was comparing it to like what you would do on a, what do you call it, a Raspberry Pi, and the comparison to the Classic, and he was talking about frame data, and the Classic has some frame time issues. And you can actually see it too. Like he was showing a video on the differences. It's like even though frames per seconds were the same, it's just that the frame the frame time, it felt not as smooth as the Raspberry Pi one.
Well, the problem with that with the PlayStation Classic is that with all the other classics, they output at a 60 hertz, but like those run on their own and they're able to match that perfectly. But what happened with the PlayStation Classic is that it's running at like 50, 55 hertz or something like that. That's what it's outputting, and that's why everything's fucked up on it. And then after you unlock it, and you unlock it to 60 hertz and you put it at that value, everything works again. That's the problem with the PlayStation Classic, and that's why not why everybody had a problem with it. So,
I mean,
it's just pulling on the nostalgia strings.
I was gonna say another thing I think they might have had a problem with is like the original PlayStation, there are a lot of terrible games on that freaking console, and I think they included some of them in the PlayStation Classic. Like when you look at them, like some of them, like
just to have it there.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the sense that like they're totally classics. Like GoldenEye is a classic, but it doesn't hold up.
Ooh,
You know what I mean? Like
yes,
it's not
it
necessarily
is.
just because it was a well-loved game before that it works in 2019, even as a retro game.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Yeah, and there wasn't that many. Well, I mean, comparatively, you got a lot more, I guess, better games, and I'm gonna say it, on like the NES or the Super Nintendo Classic. A lot of these other ones, a lot of the ones that are in the PlayStation Classic, most of them, they're, I don't know, I would say they're not as good, but I mean, they got a. I'm looking at this list, and it feels like that. I guess half of them are good-ish, but then the rest of them are like, what the fuck? What was Mr. Driller? I remember hearing Intelligent Cube, but that puzzle game, like, was that really deserving of a spot on there? Destruction Derby? What? Like,
I didn't even know
and
that existed.
oh, Destruction Derby was
Battle
a
Arena
huge game though. Like back when in the PlayStation, that was a really big game.
oh,
But I think the
I guess
PlayStation like is
different crowds.
is in a not original, an interesting kind of like outlier. Not even the PlayStation just by itself, but like let's say PlayStation, Dreamcast, like they were in a transitional time, like where we were just starting to get like games that
3D.
were fully 3D, and so like it's the kind
Yeah.
of thing where if you compare that stuff to today, it's gonna look straight up horrible. Like if you do like a Super Nintendo game, for example, a lot of that is like side scrolling type stuff, and that'll just hold up. That as long as the gameplay is good, like the visuals, you know, an old school 16-bit look doesn't really. It's not really offensive to your eyes comparatively. Like stuff obviously looks better today. Like if you do a 2D side scroller type game or something like that, it'll obviously look way better. But if you compare, you know, Virtua Fighter to like a Virtua Fighter 4 or something like that, it makes the first one look horrible. And I think that's like a big issue with sort of playing original PlayStation games. Maybe it gets better in the 2 once they do a retro PlayStation 2 or something like that. But that first one was just like, it's rough. It's hard to look at.
That's why there's a bunch of games that was still done in 2D.
Yeah, exactly.
In PlayStation, and they survive the aesthetics, even for today's standards, like Symphony of the Night.
Oh, I love that game.
Yeah. Apparently, Japan had their own, like Japan, Taiwan, and Hong Kong had their own titles too, like Arc the Lad, which is also a 2D-ish game.
I remember hearing about that one.
Yeah, I mean, I loved, like, well, I think that their company name was called like Games Workshop or something. No, not Games Workshop. That's an American company. What was it called? I don't remember the name of the company.
What, of Arc the Lad?
Yeah, for like Arc the Lad. I think they made Lunar also.
I don't know. Well, I mean, Arc the Lad was Square Enix. Oh yeah, it was SystemWorks. Arc System Works.
Working Designs. That was the name of the company.
Oh, Working Designs? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Working Designs. That was the name of the company. Like, I remember playing Lunar 2 on PlayStation, and I'm surprised they didn't put that in there because that was a very, very good game, JRPG.
Was it like, would people know of the game?
More than likely, it came with like the box set came with, it was, I think it was 4 discs. I think I have it somewhere in my room somewhere, but it came with 4 discs. It came with like a hardback book and like soundtracks and all that, and in this small package. It was very intuitive what Working Designs did, and Arc the Lad did the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever want to play like a good like PlayStation JRPG, I would say try Lunar 2. Arc the Lad was more of a tactics game, if I remember correctly.
Well, I mean, as far as for like these minis go, yeah, I think I want to actually point out the Neo Geo mini because that one in itself just seems like it's. I first saw the pictures for the Neo Geo mini. I was like, that's a joke. They're playing off the joke of all these minis, and it's a real thing. I was like, why? Oh God, why are they doing this?
Yeah.
Who would buy this tiny little? It's like a little tiny arcade box for Barbie. Like,
yeah, that one's a little bit weird. Like the fact that it's not just a little console and they gave you a little screen to go along with it and it's shaped like a tiny arcade machine, like it almost gimmicks itself out of being useful.
Yeah.
Like I don't really know what the situation is where you play that as is without looking ridiculous. Unless I mean, I guess if you plug it into a TV, sure, then you look fine.
Oh yeah.
But even the controllers look weird. Like I don't know. Something about it, like it maybe that's something that is a little bit because we're Americans. Is the culture is different? Maybe I don't know. Maybe people in the Japanese culture are a fan of kind of what they're doing with it. It doesn't feel
well.
Really...
I mean, Japan. It's a very arcade community based.
Yeah. So you get to play your own little arcade machine. That's what I'm saying. So maybe it makes sense over there. Just I don't know.
And you know the designs of these joysticks. Like if it's like a ball with a stick on it, then that's like a very Japanese design. But if it's like like a wide grip type of design, then that's a very a Western thing.
What do you mean by a wide grip?
Like how it's like it like it's thin at the bottom and it slowly becomes wider as it goes higher.
Oh, like the joystick.
Like
the arcade sticks when if it's just like
oh yeah I know what you mean. So you're not the ones where there's like a neck and then a ball on the top, but it's just like one piece where it's like thin at the bottom and keeps getting wider at the top. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's a Western design, and Japanese design is a ball with a stick on it. Yeah.
Okay. I think it totally entertained me. Did y'all watch like that video? It sounds like Zeldrick did the video for the Neo Geo.
The Neo Geo,
the Neo Geo mini, yeah, the one I included.
Yes, I just saw it.
Oh, that was the most Japanese commercial I've ever seen in my life. Oh my god!
It's like, hey, you're bored. What are you gonna do? Oh, I got this mini. Oh,
they were trying to show off the features, and it's like the cable's so long, you'll be able to reach anything with this. So I was like, wow.
Oh my god, can I play with you? Oh, yes, you can. And then, oh, but I'm not as good. It's okay. And then they'll plug in
take it easy on me. I haven't played in a while. And then they plug in and she beats the crap out of the dude.
Yeah, it's cute, man. But I will have to, for that particular item, I'll have to get them 2 controllers. And it's good that it connects.
Yeah, it would basically end up being a console if
true.
I got one. Like it would always be plugged into the TV because there's no way I would play on that little tiny joystick with like that little tiny screen.
I'm blind as it is. That's just that tiny screen is disrespectful. Like, that had to be for kids. That had to be for kids because ain't no grown adults gonna play that
here
with the joystick.
Here though, I think maybe in Japan they might. Like I think you might see some people on the train playing one of those things
due to the limited space that they have.
Yeah. So I mean, if they have limited space on the train, then they're all cramped up and their arms in, so they're already like really close to the screen already. Yeah. So yeah, it's fine.
So I do have a question though for you guys. Is there a console that you would buy a mini retro version of?
I would already want the Super Nintendo Mini. Aside from that, I don't know about a PS2 version, only because like some of those games have already been remade online or like been like HDified or whatever that was PlayStation 3, or they just do a remake of it, and I got my fix of that, so I wouldn't even go that far. The 64, that's a maybe too. I did have a lot of games for the 64, but I mean, if they had games on there that I didn't play already, then maybe. But already, I would get the Super Nintendo Mini and the Sega Mega Drive, or the Sega Genesis one.
Yeah, for 64, I think it's more like it's been HDified and like like classic releases on like the Wii too, and I think it's on. I think it might be on the Switch. I'm not sure. I rarely ever go on the Switch's eShop, so I can't really tell. But
yeah,
there's that too.
I'm gonna have to go with Zelda and say the Super NES. I'm looking at the games. These some games like Mega Man X, Zelda, Castlevania, Final Fantasy 3 and Mario Kart 2. Okay, I'm done.
And it's the American Final Fantasy 3, which is Final Fantasy 6, which is one of the great ones. Oh, the great.
If I could get one, I would get the Super NES. Super Mario World off rip. That's like my favorite Mario game. I can see myself playing on a Saturday doing laundry playing Super Mario World. It's great. I would get one of them. I would probably get the Super NES.
Too bad it's not the Super Mario. What do you call it? The World Series Classic, whatever. It has like all the Mario games with like updated.
Oh, you're talking about
graphic.
Wait, you're talking about All Stars?
I think that was on the Wii.
Oh yeah, All Stars. No, that was on SNES. I remember it because I remember somebody owning it too.
Yeah,
like way back in the day. But it was also on the SNES.
Yeah, All Stars definitely was.
Yeah, it was.
What classic would you get, T?
I would get a PC and like 800 emulators. I don't know. I'd really just hate paying for like the same thing over again. It really annoys me. Like I don't think I would buy any of these mini consoles.
If anything, if I were to pay for something again, I'll probably get a MAME arcade cabinet.
Well, okay, but like the argument is not like, and which of the argument isn't like, I would rather do this free thing that gets all of my games for free. The argument is, if there was a console that they made a mini of, which one would you get? Or actually, you know what? What generation, which console of these eras would you download emulators for? Like, just the one.
Super NES, off rip. And then I was talking about that Nintendo game, Golden Sun 1 and 2. I need that.
Oh, the GDA game?
Oh my god.
Golden Sun 1 was really good. But no,
yes, it was.
Like, the argument being, if you were going to download one emulator and ROMs for just one console, what would it be? That's the argument for you now.
It's still kind of the same answer. It would be arcade. It'd be the one that like I didn't.
Oh, just from the arcade.
Yeah, because it'd be the one that I didn't buy before. Like I could never buy arcade games before. So if you gave me like a retro console where it was like, oh, here's like all these crazy arcade games that you like can play now, I would buy that. But like, you know, when I think about all these classic Nintendo and Super Nintendo games, number one, it's not even just that like I know that I've paid for them before. It's also that I know that this is not going to be the only time that they release these again and ask you to buy them again. It's going to be like whatever that comes after the Switch, they're going to have a shop where you could buy like these retro games on that too. So it kind of reminds me of like the movie industry where somebody will watch something on VHS and then it gets released on like DVD and then it gets released on Blu-ray and you end up just buying the same thing over and over again. And I'm like, I would prefer to not do that, which is actually one of the reasons why like I'm so kind of into streaming as a concept at this point. Not Twitch streaming or anything like that, but just like streaming content off the internet. Because theoretically you buy it once. So
yeah, well, I mean, obviously the like getting your games or your content digitally, as long as you're able to have the storage safely secured and
Yeah, of course.
able to just like keep them in a digital space, that would be the preferred way to go. I think the only reason why I would definitely just go down on a Super Nintendo Classic is because I would feel the same exact way as you, because if I actually bought these games that were on the Super Nintendo, then yeah, I don't want to pay for them again. I just would rather get them digitally. But truth of the matter is, I'm 29, and the Super Nintendo came out at what age? So I didn't actually buy these. So for me to give Nintendo my money and be like, yeah, I love these games back in the day. Let me give you money. Let me give you my own money now.
Sure.
That's how I feel about it now.
Sure, I get that. I guess I'm just more like, maybe it has something to do with tech too, because I just thought about it too. Like, what happens when the TVs kind of, just like with our old school Super Nintendos and Nintendos and stuff like that, when the TVs no longer really work with them, or like HDMI no longer is a standard or whatever, and then all of a sudden this new thing that we got once again doesn't work anymore, and you have to buy it again the next time.
See, that's true, and that's a good argument. And what I was actually going to say is that what I would rather have instead of these minis, or I guess for Nintendo's case, for these minis, is give me back the eShop and I can just put them on my Nintendo account. So that when a new console comes out or whatever, I can just download it onto
and
that.
I'm cool with that. That's basically the equivalent of like Steam or something like that. I'm totally cool with that as long as it works on the next one. I would
rather have that.
I'm good with it. Which I guess, I mean, even in terms of like, if you think of Steam and PC games, that's not really guaranteed either. There's definitely some games that do not work on my PC right now. I mean, I can still install them and run them, but they weird graphics, controller doesn't work all of a sudden, and they're not supporting it anymore, so there's not going to be any fixes or whatever. So realistically, I guess it's going to happen eventually, but yeah. For ease of mind, I would prefer it to not be right out in my face like that.
Yeah. Well, that's why we have good old games. Also, I have two exact examples of what you're talking about. I tried playing the East Origins or Zero, whatever. That shit was horrible at first boot up because the resolution was complete trash because it's not meant for like 1080, and the mouse controls or whatever were just like lightning fast. And then the other thing was that when my friend was still in town, she tried to play the original Myst on my computer, and she couldn't run it. So we had to go through a whole bunch of like configurations to try to get Myst to run on Windows 10. It was fucking stupid.
Yeah, sure.
So.
All right, cool. Let's move on to a next topic. Steam's new interactive recommender. Whose topic was this?
This was mine, and I felt like that this should be talked about, and it actually interests me because I can't tell you how many times and how many hours I spent into not interested in a bunch of Steam recommendations because it's just like, yeah, you like this shit, right? You like, you said no a whole bunch of times. Well, let me just throw you out into the ether and be like, you like these anime titty games, right? And it's like, no, I didn't even buy anything remotely close to this. What are you fucking talking about? So, like, yeah. I feel like that this sort of thing is what was needed in the first place. Because they tried to do something based on tags of, you know, if you like Crosscode or if you like Final Fantasy, whatever, or if you liked Mafia 3. Here's some other games you might like based on the tags that we put on it at first, and then also the Steam community also put on them, which could be completely out of left field.
Mm-hmm.
So, it fucked up a lot of things. But I think that getting a sort of more personalization of, or more closely related games that you play or you have just recommended to you, you might be able to, you would see it, and then if it's, you know, one of those games, you can then decide right there, oh, I may not like this, but I have a friend that would, because like we've actually heard about it, or I've heard about it, but maybe he doesn't, or just whatever, you know? Do you guys ever have that problem with Steam's recommended features on their homepage?
Yeah, sometimes they give me like adult content stuff on it. like I'm
Adult
like, what?
content
Yeah,
stuff?
like literally adult content. Like here, let me go to my new and trending. Okay, well it's not on there anymore, but there are like some like literally hentai games on it.
The new and trending like tab is completely different. Like if the new and trending, that it doesn't really go off of what would be recommended to you according to Steam. Like I've seen those games too. I've seen a couple of them within the past 3 weeks. It's just like, oh, what the fuck? This visual novel, sexual content. Why is this on new and? Oh, it's because it's a new game. That's it. It's just
sexual
it's
content doesn't necessarily mean like like hentai or anything like that. It just means like they're just like you can say Mass Effect could be a sexual content in it, or
right.
The Witcher can have sexual.
But I mean, the games you were talking about that you got on there that you kind of didn't want, it wasn't Mass Effect though, right?
Yeah, there's also those too. I think they were like adult only games or something. I don't know. I don't remember the tags because I put it on not interested.
Like if you go actually to all of you guys, if you go to that same tab that is new and trending, and you see it's Field of Glory, Empires, Blazing Chrome, you go all the way to the bottom, and it says see more new releases.
Yeah,
like there is a recommended recommended for you. And immediately the first thing that came up for me was, hey, here's this visual novel, and every screenshot is just tits. And I'm like, what the fuck just happened? Why are you recommending me this? Like, I don't even have a visual novel in the first place, let alone anything of that nature on my Steam list. Why are you giving me this shit?
The only thing that's on my list for this explore new thing on new releases, well, I mean, there's EDF5, Red Hot, and then anything that's anywhere close to being like, oh my god, this is so adult kind of thing, or visual novels. There's this one called Koikatsu Party. And it's an anime sexual nudity game.
Like,
I got one called Masterpiece, Mystery Masterpiece, The Moonstone. That sounds like a novel game.
It probably is.
That might be.
It's a mouse only hidden object.
Oh no,
game.
that's
I know
different.
They don't
That's
know
something
me.
different.
Okay, that sounds like some. I really with this, it don't. I get my PC games, but by people that recommend it to me, not necessarily a machine based queue. Cause there's a lot of games on Steam particularly, and I don't want to be spending my money on no garbage. So so when my friends that has PCs, they say, hey, why don't you get this game? And I'll take a look at it and see if it's my cup of tea. And that's the best recommendation I could possibly have. Like with Steam, it says single player. My tags are single player, story rich, management, turn based, and education. So, dang. But I would like to explore more options. I don't want. Reviews are good because it's been a couple of times that I've watched. I mean, I looked at a game on Steam and I looked straight to the reviews of the game, and that's important because if people want to take the time out to spend their money on these games and take a time out to review them, it's 2 minutes ain't gonna kill me to read it. So, and then it's just a machine. That's cool. I'm not even tripping. I'm not worrying about this personal queue, the discovery queue. Just give me some games that's like within my price range and people know what I like. Just direct me towards that. It's easy for me to click right or left on a game.
I think the whole discovery queue system and the whole like ignore or add it to your wish list system, it's designed so like it'll try to recommend you games based on what you like that you might not even know about.
Sure.
Right? I think it uses some sort of machine learning to directly towards you.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to look at like the games you've played, like the number of hours you put in certain games, that kind of data, and figure out probably. So, and I guess that makes a lot of sense. So, for example, if I did play like a visual novel for some random reason, everybody in the world has been telling me to play like Doki Doki Literature Club or whatever for some reason. But
What
I
is
don't
that?
know. It's a visual novel game
I'm
as
gonna
far
look
as
it
I
up.
know. But for example, if I played
It's one of
that,
the.
Oh,
It's very.
it's a literature. It's free.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's free, and then I didn't play it, but I watched like multiple people play it on YouTube, and it gets
Dark, right?
very dark.
Yeah.
Very, very dark. Like I was like, holy shit, this gets super like psychotic.
But I mean, I guess
It's
Yeah.
they did a very good job on making it but like making it not just any visual novel game.
yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like a bunch of people have recommended me play it, probably for that exact reason. Everybody thinks it's really good and they like the darkness of it. But let's say I did play it and I didn't like it. Let's say I only played it for like an hour. To me, I imagine like this new system is gonna like, instead of saying, "Oh, you played Doki Doki Literature Club before," maybe we can recommend you like 18 other visual novels to play. Maybe it'll look at it and say, "Oh, he played this, but he only played this for an hour. And then he played Earth Defense Force for like 34 hours. And he played this other game for 34 hours. And this one for 20 hours. And it's like, how about I recommend him games like these before I recommend him like another visual novel?" Which to me, kind of, like, if it can figure stuff like that out, that makes a lot of sense.
That would make a lot of sense. And I was thinking, I thought that's what they were trying to do in the first place. But let's see. The most hours I have on Steam are Final Fantasy 11, Modern Warfare 2, and then The Witcher 3, Borderlands 2, and then Killing Floor 2. I have just on the new or for new games that are recommended, 4 visual novels that are like completely explicit, and then 1 puzzle game that's $2 where the more shit that you clear, more clothes come off. Like, this did not work.
Sounds about right for
obviously
you.
Did not work.
I think they nailed it, dude. That sounds like Zeldrick.
You know what? Okay, yeah. Killing Floor 2, it might have some blood and gore, but goddamn, he must love tits.
Yes, pretty much.
Oh wow.
God damn it.
Yeah.
I hope this fixes everything.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel
Well,
like
it's probably not even gonna fix everything, but it's probably gonna. It's an improvement.
Yeah, that's kind
Hopefully.
of like an ongoing thing. I think pretty much with every form of media is trying to figure out exactly what the customer wants, and it seems like it's kind of it's a difficult thing to do. I have the same issues with Netflix, and like I definitely had the issues with Pandora. Basically, any service where they're like, "Oh yeah, let's figure out what he likes," like it can go off in left field really easily.
You know who does that well is YouTube. Their recommendation.
Oh yes,
tab
yeah,
is
YouTube's pretty good. Yeah.
Well, yeah, they do it really well.
Except they keep recommending
Yeah, they do.
PewDiePie, and I don't want to see anything from it.
I actually had to click not interested and stop showing me PewDiePie like 4 times before it stopped showing me his stuff.
Mm.
Really, I watch him almost daily.
Oh, are you serious,
Yeah,
bro?
yeah, he
Wow.
makes good content.
Oh my god, yo.
That's a can of
Sorry.
worms open later.
He makes good content.
Okay.
Okay. When it comes to this not Streamlabs, Steam Labs, did you guys try out the 6-second trailers?
No, I haven't even gotten that far.
Wait, what is this? I don't even know what this is.
So, like, I remember before the news, before I saw any news about it, I saw the Steam Labs thing at the top of the list and on the toolbar on the top. And I was like, what the hell is this? Was this always here? Like, and then I clicked on it and I was like saying, oh, shoot, this is like experimental stuff that they're trying to do. And I and then the first thing I saw were these micro trailers experiment, and I selected that, and then basically it gives you like a bunch of what do you call it? It gives you a bunch of genres that you can choose, and then you select one of them, and they give you like a list. She gives you like a bunch of icons of games, and you just have to hover over them to see like a 6-second trailer, like gameplay trailer of the game.
Oh, that's cool.
There's no sound or anything. Yeah.
This wording is weird on here. What if you could absorb every game on Steam in just moments? This is some like indoctrination bullshit underneath like some like lab where they strap you to a chair and just let you watch or make you watch a whole bunch of these trailers at once. Fucking God games? What? Dragon? Like, it just seems really weird that the way that they put it.
Yeah.
But it's actually kind of weird how much information you can get from 6 seconds of a game.
I mean, I think they got the idea from Vine.
Yeah. That's exactly where they got it from.
Or what do you call it? What's that?
There is a website that had, what was it? I think 5-second videos.
Oh yeah, 5
5
second videos or something. I know what you're talking about.
That shit was hilarious. But
yeah,
anyways,
they stopped making videos though.
You could tell an entire story in 5 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they're taking that concept and putting it for Steam in their games, I mean, it's good. But the last thing I'll say is you've been working on this instead of Half-Life 3. Where's Half-Life 3, Gabe?
I think their focus is trying to keep their customers happy instead of a niche group of people happy. Even though Half-Life 3 feels like half the Steam community. Yeah. So I highly recommend you to look at this 6-second trailer system because I enjoyed looking through it and I was like saying, oh, that's a pretty cool game or pretty cool looking game and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm checking it out right now. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then they also have like this automatic shows thing, which I think they might do it on like a weekly basis. It might seem like it's something that if you go to GameStop, you know how they have like, like a television with like their own show on it. It's kind of like that, or like, those YouTube videos that like, Game Ranks. They also have like, the top 10 games for, May or something like that, right?
I do watch Game Ranks. I do.
Yeah, so it's like Steam's version of that. They have like a video.
I'm looking at this right now. The automatic show. The only way that, or my only relation to something like that is when Facebook is like, oh, you had a month. Let us show you like what you did this month. And it's the pictures or whatever they just generate for you or whatever. The Facebook's generation sort of tricks or services, whatever.
This one, I think it's not generated. I think it's by a guy because there's narration on top of it.
Oh, there is. I turned the sound off.
Yeah,
so
there's narration on top of it. Yeah.
I will look at this later. This sounds kind of cool.
All right, let's continue on. Sean Murray gives advice. I don't know anything about this. Whose topic was this?
Mine. He was giving advice to because the thing between with Anthem and Fallout 76, they were really vocal about what was going on with their games and what their difficulties were.
Mm-hmm.
Sean Murray explained in the article that they should have been deaf mute. They should not have been vocal at all. And my question is to you guys: do you think it was right for him to say that based on the game that he made with No Man's Sky? And as you feel like if a game developing company or a company that's making a game should be silent when they first release a game?
With the one thing I will say is that when it comes to Anthem and Fallout 76, actually more towards Anthem, is that I would rather have them just not say anything instead of everything they said, because to me everything that they said about the game before launch and then everything after, it's like, don't fucking lie to us, you piece of shit. Like having them talk about this stuff just like it aggravates. It's kind of like when you have a burn and a wound or whatever, just talking about it, it's aggravating the wound, no matter how constructive it is. And I think in case for Fallout 76 and Anthem, it was more like, oh, we're going to change this, we're going to change that, we're going to, and then they keep going on with that, and then they later on will show a roadmap of what they are going to do and stuff like that. And it's like, dude, stop talking. Just stop talking and either A, shut it down because we don't want it, or B, give us what you originally wanted, or what we originally wanted and what you said. And that was exactly the case of what No Man's Sky did. Like, with No Man's Sky, they promised A, B, and C. We only got A, and then B and C were only halfway there or complete lies. And then from that, they just dropped off the face of the earth. And it's like, well, are we getting it? And it's like, either one word here or one word there.
Or no words at all.
Or no words at all, exactly. And if you just drop off and actually work on the game instead of spending effort to put a front man or to, ease the crowd or whatever, or hype for that matter, yeah, you can then put all of your focus on what you did wrong, and then fixing your problems, and then putting in what the fans or what the audience actually wanted and what you said. And then when it comes out, it's like, oh shit, you did everything that we asked for, or oh shit, you kind of did it, or you didn't do it at all, fuck you, and then they just kind of pass you off. Like, it's either you anger the audience more, or you just let things cool off. And I think what he's saying is that with Anthem and Fallout 76, let it cool off and work on your shit. And then the next thing that comes up, your Battle Royale, or whatever the fuck you're doing to Anthem, you put out words, and it's like, what's the reaction? The reaction from, if it's a good thing, it's going to be a hell of a lot louder than it is for the negative stuff. At least how, like, my point of view anyways. Because if you drop off the face of the earth and then put out something that they didn't want, then it's like, shit, what the fuck have you been doing this entire time? And they kind of just toss you like a dirty rag. But if you're vocal the entire time, and then you put out something that nobody wanted, then you get an even louder crowd expressing their concern. So,
for me,
that is my 2 cents.
For me, it's more like, if the game was, if they started listing features before the game even came out, and about maybe more than half of them were not even in the game when it did come out, and they didn't even reference that they said that they're working on it, I'm out. Like, I'm probably never going to touch that game again. And I'm pretty sure 30 to maybe 70%, I know that's a wide gap, but 30 to 70% of the people are probably going to say the same thing, because they don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Right? They say, like, if you don't deliver what you promised or even talked about in the thing, like, and we paid for the game, like, I'm out. I don't care if you update this game later on. I'm out.
The last thing I will say is that I think it's still fine, and it's still falls in the same vein as, like, staying silent. If, say that you have a build or a patch of the game to go out, and then you like, and say it on Twitter, make a and then, or news outlets get word of it, and it's like, oh hey, there was an update, here's a list of the updates, but that's it. Like, I still feel like that's staying silent while you're working on it.
Yeah. Well, also, I also think, like, they should what's that word I'm looking for? They should acknowledge that they screwed up, and none of them didn't. None of them, those threes didn't. With Final Fantasy 14, Square actually admitted, saying, like, yeah, they screwed up, right? And then, like, they brought in a new director, and then he gave out like this huge roadmap to their own internal team and to the public, and to see like what their plan is on fixing the game. And I think that's what made it revive so well. Instead of people like saying like, "Oh, screw this game," and never coming back to it. Well, I mean, there's still some people doing that, but at least it brought, trust.
Yes, that, but I think also what was different, or at least from what I remember with Final Fantasy XIV, was that, and I think this was after the servers for 1.0 shut down, was that there wasn't information, but there was a huge like information drop article that was like, here's the stuff that we're going to fix, or like just what's going to happen with the future of Final Fantasy XIV. And it was a mock-up screenshot of like UI and like some things that are happening and everything. And that's what I remember. But since like you had that space of time of, no talk about it, then you release information about it. I think that's can be a good thing, but only if you're listening. What do you think, Lady Infamous? Like just this with this entire article and this fiasco.
Okay, with me it's like this. He's making it seem like, first of all, your game was like when he put his game out, Sean Murray, he put his game out squeaky clean. Like he did all the bells and whistles. Like he had no problems with his launch, and his approach to No Man's Sky was a negative effect, because he didn't say he was deaf mute when the game came out. He did say that he was supposed to do some features in the game, so when people bought the game, it wasn't there, and people was like, well, what the fuck? Why is Sean Murray ain't speaking on why there's a bazillion planets, but it's isolated? You're like the only one on the planet. Why you cannot play with your friends? Why does it have to wait like a few years to actually be able to have the game that people actually want? He made his own mistakes with his own game, and for me, he shouldn't be in a position to be judging how other people do their things. Yes, Anthem fucked up. Yes, Fallout 76 fucked up, but at least they tried to like put the band-aid over the wound, if I can say, right? For me, Sean Murray just like took the cash and dipped. He said, "I'm fit to be mute for like what, 6 months, 8 months." It was a good minute. Everybody was complaining and about his game when it first came out, and it was supposed to be a good game, but people weren't happy about it. And Sean Murray damn near looked at those comments when people was talking about his game and how they spent money on his game and how his game is not up to their expectation. So I personally think like he should have been no business be talking about other people's stuff when he didn't have his stuff together his game.
But the thing is he is admitting of what had happened, though, right? Because like, yes, he obviously did see that, or well, what was released, and then what was not talked about, or what was talked about, what was supposed to be in the game, like it wasn't in it, and then they actually did put all like that content into the game itself, like those mechanics. You could actually play multiplayer. They actually added base building. They added more stuff to it. And while yes, it is not right in the first place to fuck up and lie about what's going to be in it, the point being is that, like, as far as for how Anthem and Fallout 76 fucked up and what they're doing about it, it's more about you guys need to actually do what the fans or what your customers want you to do to fix your games, and shut the fuck up and just do it. And I can tell you already that people, like, I was pissed about No Man's Sky as well. Like, I was already, when No Man's Sky came out, I was ready to just play that game alone. I didn't care. But
I have a question.
Yes.
Is No Man's Sky full price now or no?
I actually haven't checked about that.
I mean, it goes on sale, but it's still full. What do you mean by is it full price?
like $60
I think it's
out
still
the gate.
$59.99.
Oh wow, really? Okay. How do you feel about this, T?
I mean, the thing that kind of always stands out is like I've had this conversation with a bunch of people in the past, not even specifically just with gaming, but just in general. But do y'all feel like it's lying? Like, do y'all legitimately feel like that the developer did not have the intention of putting that stuff in the game?
I think it's a
The thing
lie
is,
if they make it sound like if it came out or if it's going to be on release.
Like, oh yeah, we're gonna have this.
Well, I mean,
there.
so I'm asking you
Already
guys
ready,
what you
yeah.
think of like their intentions. Do you think that they either their intention was or they already knew that that stuff wasn't gonna make it when they announced it?
Okay,
I
well,
think
this
Sean,
is more like
No Man's Sky.
I think this is
was
more of a
pretty promised,
trust
though.
issue for me. Like
Oh really?
yeah, because it's more like they said that they're gonna do all this. Now the game the feature didn't isn't there, and they're not saying anything about it. So therefore, like, am I supposed to trust this guy still
Yeah, but then
about
I would
this?
ask you. So I think Zelda just said, for example, with No Man's Sky, it did come eventually. So what is?
Yeah, but by then I was out because
No, I get that. I get that.
you
So
know,
that's
it was
why
He said I
I'm
was.
saying, like, to me, not weird, but the question is, do you think that they intentionally were lying in saying that that stuff was going to be there at launch, or was it they thought it was going to be there, they didn't make it, and ended up releasing it later? Like, would it change something if they communicated that to you? Like, yeah, that was all planned on being there. We just didn't have enough time to get it out in the schedule.
Well, they should have said that in the beginning. They should have said that in the
Yeah,
beginning.
but that's not
They
something
made
you
it
would
seem,
know in
well,
the beginning,
No
though.
Man's.
That's what I'm saying. You wouldn't know that in the beginning. You would know that once
everybody
the
had
release
had the
happened.
words of, well, everybody had the words of it's going to have multiplayer.
Sure.
And it's and like here's where like words get twisted up, and I'm not even saying that like, oh man, like he said it was going to have multiplayer, but it didn't on launch, but it did eventually. Like, I'm not defending that point. It's more like the words were told as more of like, I don't want to say like white lies, but it was more like that you could say it's going to have multiplayer, but then the multiplayer that was, I guess, like sort of there, which actually wasn't, it's not what everybody thought it was. And then when I think what happened was when they're like, oh shit, like we didn't have this in the game, we better put it in. I think that's what happened. So and this is the fault of when you say too little.
Yeah, but it also sounds
and you
like
don't get
there's
the like
also
words
like
precise.
it sounds like people are also saying though that there's like a lot of fault in saying too much too.
On when you preview the game.
Yeah, I guess I don't know if I'm necessarily 100% getting where people started getting upset. Like, when did that happen?
The biggest thing that people got upset was it having multiplayer.
Yeah, which I know there was that
And
stupid
that you
multiplayer where you technically couldn't be in the same game or like something like that. You basically would never even run into the other person even though you were in the same game or something like that. I know there was that.
Right. It was there was that.
So I guess my question is, again, the reason why I said it stood out is because, like, to me, when you say, for example, somebody lied about what they said was going to be in the game, the first thing I'm thinking of is like, oh, what did they? When they announced it, did they explicitly say something that was going to be there in some form, and then it didn't happen, or did people have certain expectations for it that it didn't live up to?
It was expectations that it did not live up to, and
then the question would be
the way that
people
they
took as a lie.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead. What were you saying?
I think it's the way how he presented it too.
Yes.
Like how do you guys feel he presented it?
You know, like on interviews, he's like saying, "Is this going to have multiplayer?" Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like what is your expectation of multiplayer? chances are you're playing with other people, like, and you can see them and you can interact with them.
That's what he said.
No. I'm saying in general, like, what is an expectation of multiplayer? And
Yeah, but I guess then I think about stuff like Dark Souls, where I think
in general sense, what is a general sense of multiplayer?
Well, no, but the reason I'm bringing up
I
Dark
wanna
Souls
play
is
with
because it feels like it's kind of similar-ish in that I think it says like you can do co-op or multiplayer on the game, but
That's
realistically,
because you can.
it might not even be Dark Souls. One of them you could just summon somebody to the game, or like people will be playing and like somehow you could summon their avatar to fight with you or something like that. One of those was like it was multiplayer, but not exactly like what you would imagine multiplayer in a Souls game to be. It was one of the early ones. And I'm thinking like I remember hearing that people being disappointed about that, but not basically like crucifying the game for it.
Well, the thing is that with the Dark Souls games, they're not. It's not like the expectations of that specific game is a single player experience. It was never really meant to shine on the multiplayer.
Was this game though? Or is that just what people's brains went to
No Man's
immediately?
Sky? Yeah, No Man's Sky. I think it was like the expectation was because it's so vast and wide, and they built this algorithmic system to make
like an infinite number of planets, basically.
Yeah.
But I guess the only reason I'm confused right now is because like I feel like as I'm hearing people describe it, it doesn't sound like that's what the developers said. It sounds like that's what people expected, which to me are
because he wasn't clear. The thing is that he wasn't clear, and he gave a short, simple answer. Is it going to have a multiplayer? Yes.
And what is a general sense of
have...
multiplayer?
Yeah, but again, you can't. I don't think you can necessarily blame the guy for people having unrealistic expectations. Like unless somebody said like
expectation.
No, this is a realistic expectation.
No. But what I'm saying is like if somebody says is there going to be multiplayer and you say yes, if nobody said what is multiplayer going to be, that is completely different to me. That's like all of a sudden.
So let me describe to you exactly what the multiplayer at the launch of No Man's Sky was. Yeah. It was you have a list on a planet. Who discovered what?
Yeah, I knew that part.
Okay. That's it.
I swear there was like
exactly
a thing.
It. That is the only thing. It's a leaderboard. That is the only thing that was on it that was multiplayer in the first place. You couldn't trade any resources. You couldn't just drop off a resource and have somebody else see it and pick it up. You couldn't like meet somebody at a base. Anything like that. You could not interact with anyone whatsoever. What multiplayer means is that you interact with someone else, another player, in some form or another. There was zero. The only thing they had was a glorified leaderboard.
And they didn't say anything about it after release.
Okay, so... But I mean, I guess, like, I don't know. I think I'm thinking in terms of how it has been when I was doing software engineering, where people have, like, big ideas, and then, like, in the end, because of a bunch of restraints, including time, money, resources, blah, 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 certain features that you, like, initially say are going to be there don't end up being there, and maybe they come in the future. And the first thing all I'm thinking is like, I don't know. I guess I'm trying to imagine it based on a developer's intent rather than based on the gamer's expectations. Because I think about where the game is now.
Was it marketed that it's going to be there?
What's that?
Well,
what'd you say, Sharpie?
Was it marketed when
That's what I'm asking. Oh, you're saying was it marketed initially? Like. You mean in terms of like,
or was it an internal thing?
What I'm thinking of is like when you do,
because for me, like when I was working, they said that they like we never set expectations that it's going to be there. We always said like this thing works with this and this thing works with that, and that was already out. Everything that we
But
that we said that is going to be there was internal only. It was never out in public.
well, okay, so then there's the question I would say, and maybe I don't know, maybe that's leading back to what Lady Infamous was saying. Are you guys saying that it would have been better to just not say anything?
Yes.
Okay.
It would have been better to
before
not say
the game
that it had
came out.
multiplayer.
Yeah, before the game came out.
And then what happens
Not
when
after the
Or-
game. Not
comes out?
after. Yeah.
Yeah, and what happens when the game comes out? What I'm just saying, like, in terms of what would be your expectation in terms of communication when the game comes out.
Well,
If your game's messed up, voice on it. There've been plenty of times that games came out and they had like day one patches, or we got to shut this down for maintenance because I think Mortal Kombat had one, like maybe the first 2 weeks of launch, but there was some issues with the what is that place? The tomb.
Yeah, the crypt.
The crypt.
Yeah.
The crypts.
There was some issues with the crypts, and Mortal Kombat was like, okay, we're gonna.
Yeah, but I guess that sounds like something different, though. Are we saying that it just didn't meet people's expectations, or that there was issues with the game?
No,
it was an issue.
No, not Mortal Kombat. I'm talking about No Man's Sky. Was it that the game was broken?
It wasn't
or that it's just people didn't like it?
No, I don't. No, it was like people wasn't expecting to do certain things.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though.
That's
what I'm saying. Like, so Mortal Kombat, it sounds like, yeah, we're on it because something's broken. Something's not working the way like it was advertised. It sounds like No Man's Sky, people advertised what it was gonna do, and that's not the same vision that the people buying the game had. Which I mean, honestly, I would get that part up until you say like nobody's gonna buy your game if they have no idea what it is.
But the point being is that when you have words come out that say it's multiplayer, it's not even an expectation sort of thing. At that, like it's you say it's going to have multiplayer.
Sure.
It comes out. It does not have multiplayer. That is a core argument right there. So like when you say that like in software engineering, you have a project that somebody wants you to do, and it's like, oh man, is it going to have a calculator? Or like they ask you to like, or they say that they want a calculator on it. It's like, okay, all right, is this a calculator? No, but it types numbers. Can it add and divide and stuff? No, it just displays numbers. That is exactly what's going on here. They say that it's going to have something. It does not have it.
I mean, I guess,
but they give you something else.
That's kind of. I think that's also the way as you describe it. That's totally just a difference, probably in opinion on what multiplayer means. Multiplayer doesn't. I don't think multiplayer necessarily means that two players have to interact with each other. No,
not that. Well, what?
I can play.
Okay, what other definition of multi? I'm curious. What is?
But you guys play Final Fantasy 14, which is an MMORPG that you two never interact with each other. It doesn't mean the two people in the game have
different.
to.
You like? What do you mean? There's millions of people that I interact with. Even
understood. But that doesn't. Yeah. But like what I'm saying is, there's millions of people that interact with a world, and yeah, there's definitely elements where you guys can like play with each other. Obviously, that's a huge part of the game. But in that game, technically, everybody is interacting with the same world. It is multiplayer. There's multiple people interacting in one world. They're just not interacting with each other. That's total. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
we
are interacting with each other.
They are interacting with each other.
No. You're not hearing me. I'm saying No Man's Sky. I'm not talking about Final Fantasy 14. I'm saying in No Man's Sky, there are a bunch of people in the same. You were just
talking about Final Fantasy 14, so we were like,
I know. I'm switching over to say like
with each other.
That Final Fantasy 14 obviously is a different beast, but I don't think the concept of you needing to interact with each other is what defines multiplayer. Because in No Man's Sky, technically, you guys are interacting with the same world. If I go to a world and excuse me, if I go to a world and I name it like Unsheath P, and then Zeldrick comes to that world, and I don't know, maybe, I don't even know if this was the case. If I messed up that world, or if I built something on that world somehow, would you see it? I don't know how it worked.
No.
Okay.
That's because world building was not even a part of
Okay,
the,
so
of the
world
game in the
building,
first
yeah,
place.
resource gathering, I guess was, but world building wasn't. That's right. But technically, like, if I'm naming it and then you go to it and all of a sudden it's my planet, it's named my planet, technically I'm interacting with that world and you're seeing the results of that, even if we're not interacting together. I think that
So
basically
you
makes
think
it
multiplayer
multiplayer.
is?
I think multiplayer is a thing where,
But
like,
remember what the word multiplayer means.
more than one
You're-
player.
You're playing with multiple people.
No, it's more than one player. It's not you're playing with multiple people. There's more than one player in the game.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily
Or
mean you're
you're-
playing
you're-
with each other, though. It just means there definitely are more than one person. There's more than one person in that game playing the same game. You just can't see each other. I don't know.
And you think that's acceptable as multiplayer?
No, but I guess what I'm saying, to me, that's acceptable to say that there's multiplayer, and I also think it's kind of acceptable to say that, especially if afterwards, once people are complaining and people are saying things, I thought this is what you guys are saying, but like he went back and added it later.
Okay, so
Yes.
so here's my next question. The next Call of Duty game,
Yeah.
there's going to be multiplayer. We don't know anything about
Sure.
it, right? Pretend like we don't know anything about the new Modern Warfare. So they said, "Oh, there's going to be multiplayer. You just don't get to play with other people."
That's some bullshit right there.
Imagine that.
That's why
Right?
Well,
like
no.
they didn't say that
I
you don't
buy
get to
it.
play with other people. It's just that
I think-
whatever you do in the game is going to affect.
But I think
the,
I think the part
the
that you're
world.
missing that I'm saying is like, if they say that, then like technically I don't think they lied to the audience. They probably made a massive mistake in terms of like they're gonna kill their market if they did. And that's probably what No Man's Sky did too. If they were more communicative and like more specific about what features were gonna be, and like let's say they were intending on releasing multiplayer, like where players were playing with each other in the game on release, if they were planning on doing that and they didn't make it, if they were like, oh yeah, well, we just didn't have enough time and like, we're working on it, we'll release it afterwards, probably would have like you said, kept people more trusting in their ability to execute on the game. I would say that, yeah, their communication wasn't great, but I just don't know if I don't know how they did their development process, but I don't think my first thought is they lied to people. Like that to me, just like, I don't know. It feels very common in terms of like the software engineering world.
In hindsight, yeah, it doesn't seem like they lied to people, but but at the time when the game came out, it was clearly like such a big lie. Like for months rather, right? I think even the government got involved.
For what?
Like the fact that
like the Better Business Bureau or something like that, because
yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing about that. Well, I feel like that when it comes to this, they need to actually show what it means to be multiplayer.
Yeah, totally. That's why I think a big problem would have been if nobody asked what was multiplayer going to be, as compared to just saying, is there multiplayer, and then being like, yes or no.
In general sense, I think most people, and not all, but I'm pretty sure most people would agree that multiplayer means you interact with other players.
Okay, well then the other thing would be if take that into mind, and then the other thing I would just say is like, okay, well then I would ask him, is that multiplayer going to be available on launch? Because I've totally heard people ask that question about other games.
Well, wait, so if multiplayer was going to be at launch, did people ask that? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know.
Is that
I don't
what
know.
your question was?
No, I was just saying, like, if we were going to put it as like, yeah, the assumption is, well, okay, so I imagine myself in this interview or whatever, and I think my thing would be like, okay, is there going to be multiplayer? And he says yes, and I'm like, okay, how does multiplayer work? And if they say, oh, we're working on that, and I'd say, okay, is it going to be available at launch? And specifically because, like, I don't know, I feel weird about the concept of going in blindly without having the questions answered and then being upset about not even just upset about like the results, but like almost offended as if they lied to you.
So let's pretend we don't know anything about No Man's Sky other than it's a space exploration game. If they said multiplayer, what would be your expectation?
Oh, I mean,
I gotta play with y'all. I can play with y'all on
that would be the assumption.
World.
Yeah,
that's my first expectation of multiplayer. If we never heard of No Man's Sky,
and the only thing that we know about it is like you can make they can make millions of worlds.
Your expectation is that you could go along with a friend or multiple friends to explore all those worlds.
Exactly. That's exactly what people's expectations.
Sure, but I guess
were,
okay. Let me think about Overcooked, which we played. So Overcooked could totally advertise multiplayer. To me, it's basically the same situation if you never asked them how does multiplayer work on there, and then when the game comes out, you're like, why can't I play with Zeldrick and Sharpie online? Because all it had was couch co-op. But it totally like lived up to like the concept of having multiplayer, but it still doesn't meet like the majority of like gamers' expectations, most likely, I'd imagine. That's a little bit like, I guess, not as extreme as this case, but to me, it's the same kind of example of like, I'm not sure why it seems like people are so caught off guard. Considering how many people ask questions about these games, why are they so caught off guard by like how multiplayer panned out? And also like the fact that there's a lot of games today that totally do release with like a base set of features and then like compound onto those like over time. I'm totally not surprised that something like multiplayer might come in afterwards, especially with something that's, when you describe that it can like build like a crazy number of worlds that are all unique or whatever. To me, that sounds like, I even said it when they were talking about it initially. I'm like, that sounds like a massive endeavor, and like I hope they can execute that on that, but it sounds huge. So like when I think of it that way, I'm not surprised at all that like a feature like multiplayer wouldn't come in at the beginning.
Yeah, no, and we thought so too. It's just that the way how they were describing it says, yeah, they figured out some sort of special algorithmic system that to make this work.
Yeah, totally.
And it sounded like to me that it was ready to go.
Did it?
But the point being is that like when the only thing that's being said is with multiplayer is yes it will, but then you like downplay it and you don't say anything about the multiplayer before the game even launches. You don't talk about it. It's just, will it have it? Yes. And then any time it comes up again, will it have it? Yes. And then it comes out, it's like, this isn't like what everybody wants for multiplayer.
Yeah. I get that, but wasn't the rest of the game not what everybody wanted to?
Actually, it wasn't.
I thought I heard that for everybody it didn't like even come close to living up to expectations. Like the whole interest, it was interesting that there was a bunch of worlds they generated, but like I don't know. For some reason, maybe it's just like because people weren't super enthused with the mechanics of the game or something like that. But I thought I remember hearing people being completely underwhelmed by that game.
Well, there was a bunch of bull shots that were made for that game. That was with the first initial trailer. Like
there was a bunch of what that were made?
Bull shots.
What's that?
Like they were disguised to be playable, like a playable trailer of what was going on. And it like all those dinosaurs and everything that you saw in the initial trailer. Yeah, like everything that was at release or actually still going on now, those monsters look fucked up. It's like they took the spore generator and just increased the amount of like species you could mash in together, and you come out with grotesque looking things and stuff that actually does not look like what they showed off and talked about initially. And I think when it came down to my expectations of what the game was supposed to be, like I was when the game first came out, I was expected to play this game and explore what sort of language was going on, the mysteries of this universe, whatever's going on, and then with like the ultimate goal that you're being told in the first place was get to the center of the universe. So I'm like putzing my way around and through everything, and it's taken me a long time, expectedly, because it's a universe filled with millions upon millions of planets that's just procedurally generated. And it's taking a while, and then my friend was like, so I got a friend that got to the center of the earth, or center of the universe. Do you want me to tell you, like, what it is? I'm like, no, don't tell me. Like, I'll go on. And maybe, like, a couple more days go by, and I'm just like, it just kind of grows on me, and I'm like, why would she phrase it that way? I go to her room, and she's like, oh, and I ask her, what's at the center of the universe? And she's like, oh, what happens is you go there, some text pops up, and you start the whole thing over again. And I'm like, what the fuck? That's the mystery of this universe that you're trying to, like, have me solve when there is nothing solved in the first place? Like, you set up this expectation of, here's this grand thing that's going to be there. Here's a whole bunch... Like, they set you up for this hype bubble that's going up, and then it just deflates throughout the entire game. Like, everything is just not what it said it was going to be.
Was I the only one that thought it?
That was
sorry, go
real
ahead.
deep. Go ahead. No, go. I'm sorry. What were you
No, I was
saying?
just gonna say, was I the only one that just thought of this as being like at the risk of offending Zeldrick? I thought of this like Minecraft. Like, I'm talking about even before it came out, when they were describing
I didn't even think that this was even close to Minecraft. I was not even interested in this game at all, just because I was like saying, what is it that you can do in this game?
And that's exactly what I mean when I say, what is it when you say, what is it you can do? That's what I think of in Minecraft. I'm like, I don't know what the point of this game
Minecraft,
is.
It's more about being creative.
Yeah, but I guess the kind of what I'm trying to get at is like the whole concept of like this sandbox universe that you can just basically build your own story from. That's what I assumed this game was going to be from the beginning, because of how they described it. And they never, at least from what I remember hearing, they never said like, this is the story of it. It was just like, look at all these planets you can explore. And I'm like, it sounds like one of those games where there's not really much of a reason to do anything that you don't give yourself.
Well, while in the trailer, a lot of it points to it's like more the journey of it all and exploring, but they end up giving you the ultimate goal, the details of what you're set out to do, which is these, I think it was called precursors, like with a different name, and discovering their language, and then also find the mysteries of the universe, which is at the center. Like, that was the ultimate goal that they presented to you. But you could explore the vast many planets that's in this universe that they procedurally generate. Like, you could do that. Like, it keeps going on.
Yeah, I thought that was the whole point.
They do. But no, like they present you with one ultimate goal, which is reach the center of the universe.
Yeah.
And that was two major draws. Well, I mean, actually, the major draw of it was the vast universe that they created, in that you can explore infinite amount. But they still say your ultimate goal is X. And they even tell you right in the beginning of the game, your ultimate goal is X.
Sure. But I guess that sounds to
unfortunately,
me...
when it comes...
Go ahead.
And unfortunately, when it comes to games like this, or like Minecraft, or any sort of sandbox game, or actually, you know what? Another one would be The Forest as well. Like, they present you with this world that you can create things to an abundant amount of your creativity is the bounds of your creativity is like what you can do with it. But I always look at, what is my ultimate goal? What are you presenting to me? Where do I have to go to either A, reach end credits, or the mission that you give me? And if you, before the game comes out, you say there is no goal that you presented to you, and I'm like, okay, so then now I know what's going on with it. I know exactly what's going on, and I can see where I'm headed. But then if you say with the forest, that is, you have to find your son. All right, I can build this base, and I can go find my son. All right, No Man's Sky, you can upgrade your craft. You can get more resources. Your ultimate goal is reaching the center of the universe. Like that, they presented all this.
Sure.
So,
but I guess
I am on one end of the spectrum that wants a goal that the game presents to you.
Yeah, I think that was that was what I was going to say.
Scripted.
I think you might be part of the issue. Might, in terms of like your relationship with the developer, is that like it sounds to me like they made a game that they threw in a story mode, well, a single player mode, for the sake of throwing in a single player mode. Like because theoretically a game has to have some goal in order to be a game technically. So it sounds like they threw something in, get to the center of the universe. But like, I guess, I don't know. Maybe this is my last thought on the whole thing, but do you guys think that maybe this is just an early access game that didn't go through the early access process?
It should have.
I would say that yes.
Yeah.
But the thing is that it definitely went through the process of early access stuff, but because it was funded by PlayStation, they don't have an early access.
That's exactly
program.
what I mean. Yeah. So like, it's the concept. This is basically what happens, with the early access. Like typically, you get to play a game when it's not fully fleshed out, and theoretically, as time goes on, it gets fleshed out. But the expectation is that like when you get it, you're not playing necessarily the final product. You're just playing like an early access version of it. And maybe because PlayStation doesn't have that, maybe there's just different expectations. Like people thought of this as being the final product. But it sounds like it still kind of did the same thing as what typically happens, which is like, oh, you get all these huge updates in terms of features as time goes on. But maybe people, just because it's a console game, they're like, we want everything now up front when we buy it.
Well, yeah, that's how they marketed it.
Did they though? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Is did they market it as this is having everything you guys always wanted in this game right up front? It doesn't. From what you guys said, it doesn't.
They
sound
never
like
said
they
that
did.
It's coming out in the future.
No. Okay.
Nobody ever puts out their game like that.
Like what?
Nobody ever sells their game as this has everything you want.
Sure. Did the developers ever say we're gonna provide some updates in the future?
No.
Yeah.
They never said anything to the effect of we're going to add stuff later.
Yeah, they never said that.
Okay. I don't know. I guess maybe I'm the opposite end of the spectrum, whereas like I'm always thinking like the game you get when you buy it probably isn't going to be the same game you have like 6 months down the road. If it is, then that really sucks. But if it's not, then I feel like that's kind of par for the course at this point. Like you're never going to get like that full. Well, sometimes you will. Like if it's like a full story-based game, like an Uncharted or something like that on PlayStation, yeah, you're gonna get like the full game up front theoretically, unless they add a multiplayer mode later on or something. And there'll probably just be patch fixes and stuff like that. But when it comes to this type of like sandbox game, I always assume that like you're not playing the game you're gonna be playing in 6 months when you buy it at launch, or a year, or whatever it is. That's exactly why I didn't buy it when it first came out.
I didn't have a PlayStation then when it first came out. So you saying if I can pay No Man's Sky right now, we all had it. We can all play it online together right now.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get it. I didn't.
Yeah, I thought about buying it at one point, but that was when it was like on a Steam sale for like $29.99 or something. I wouldn't pay full price for it regardless, because I still don't know what the hell you do in the game other than resource building.
I bought it the day before it came out.
Yeah,
Oh wow, the day before, fam.
That I think
Yep.
That sounds
I
like
was
a
gonna say I think
pre-order.
that's Sharpie's
That sounds
whole
like a
warning and don't
pre-order.
pre-order games.
That sounds like a pre-order.
That was well. The thing is I would be totally down for pre-ordering if I have, like money to throw away.
Sure.
Like that's the thing. Actually, wait a minute. You know what? I think I didn't buy it the day before. I think I bought it the day of.
Okay.
No, wait, that is right. No, I'm sorry. I did buy it the day that it released because I remember specifically actually what Sharpie had said. It was my friends were going over this argument of, oh, don't pre-order games and like here's X, Y, and Z reasons and everything. And I was like, yeah, I fully support that. And that was the exact reason why I didn't pre-order it, was because like it was more the principle of don't give them money before the game released. And then the game released. I was like, all right, fork over $60.
Yeah.
So that's what happened.
Yeah, I think now we all know that the idea of don't pre-order games is wait for people's reviews.
But I'm about to pre-order Death Stranding though.
Well, that's Hideo Kojima.
Yeah, I mean, Kojima never really disappointed. Like has a history of not disappointing his audience.
Yeah. The difference with Metal Gear Solid 5 being Konami. So that is a huge variable that happened with that game.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if you have a company and a specific director and developer where they consistently pump out these games that are just like, yes, I love it, top notch. Yes, I love it, top notch. And or it has these pre-order bonuses that you want, I would say that as like the 1%. But if you have a developer that continuously brings out these games, has a really good track record of these games, and that you really, really like, I would feel better about somebody pre-ordering for that game, rather than just like, oh man, like this game that from this developer that I don't really know much about, but this game looks awesome, pre-order. Like, that's really walking in blind with your wallet in front of your face.
Look, I ain't got time for that, fam. I can't.
Yeah, exactly.
I gotta know, like, I've been bamboozled too many times, man. Fallout 76 really burnt me, man. I'm not doing it. I know with Death Stranding, it's a game that I wanted to play.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I bought the PlayStation. I know that's what I want. Outer Worlds or something like that, that's day one buy probably. But as me pre-ordering like games like on the regular, no, I can't.
For all we know, Death Stranding could be like 80% cutscenes.
It could be, but you know that's what the risk I'm willing to take because I bought a system for it. I saw the trailer and I was interested. I'm like, okay, I gotta get a PS4 for that.
I mean, even if it is like 80% cutscenes, like Hideo Kojima does a good job on like storytelling. So
yeah.
So I wouldn't be mad if I did pay $60 for a very well told, long ass movie with some interactivity. All right, I think we talked enough about this. we should move on. I'm gonna skip over the FIFA thing with kids because I feel like we might talk in full circles about that again. All right, so it seems like Lady Famous wanted to talk about Gears 5 drops tobacco reference.
Who said? I said, who said I wanted to talk about it? I just said I had to re-talk about it.
You have to re-talk about it? Oh, you said you
Talk
have to
about it.
talk
You
about
said
it.
You have to like 7 times.
This wasn't even my topic. Whose topic was it?
That was not mine.
I put this topic in.
I mean, could somebody give like a quick
like,
description
if it
of what
was
it
worthy
is?
of talking about?
Can you give it like a quick description of what it is?
Yeah,
I don't know
what is this about? I don't know anything about this.
Okay, they took out the smoking. It wasn't even a main character from Gears 5, but they saw someone saw a character in the game smoking a cigar. So some people got salty about it, and they decided to the coalition decided to remove all smoking images from their game.
Oh my god.
And,
okay,
and that's what it is. And from the Truth Initiative. You know, if you know the Truth commercials, they out here everywhere. You know, saying like smoking's bad and everything like that.
They're
And
all over the Bay Area, and they have those weird as fuck commercials of that one woman that like, oh, this is your brain on tobacco, and like smashing like all of her pots and pans around, that sort of shit.
So some people were upset. Some people were like, yeah, they needed like it's gears. I mean, it's gears. I mean, I don't think that it should be smoking in the game. And then you got people like, well, it takes away from the aesthetics of the game. So, for me as a smoker, it doesn't make or break a game for me if someone smokes in the video game or not. I'm not condoning it. I'm not, advocating it for anybody. You can look up Google and see what the side effects and the harmful things of smoking is. It is up to the company who makes the game if they want it there or not. You know what I mean? It's just how it is in these ages now. If it's something super offensive, people are gonna push to it, and if enough people push, they're gonna break. Rob Ferguson also put a tweet out also saying, hey, yo, we took it out because, my dad, he died of cancer and he was a smoker. So it wasn't even a problem for me to, like, take this away from the game. But then it snowballed into more things. Oh, but but your game is overly violent. Are you going to tone that down? Or it's sexually aggressive sometimes. Are you going to tone that down as well? It is an M-rated game. Am I right, Gears?
Yes.
Okay. So, first of all, if it was supposed to be smoking in the game on an M-rated game, that's like goes hand in hand. Then if you're taking something like smoking out, it's probably you're trying to like appeal more to the children audience, but it's kind of contradicting itself because it's an M-rated game. With me, it doesn't personally bother me. If it's gone, I'm still gonna play the game. I just don't need the Twitter soldiers on my feed talking about this. You know what I mean? That's what
all those
I'm
keyboard
like,
warriors attacking your account.
No, not my account, because and ain't nobody like come up to me, but I know people on my Twitter feed that made this little itty bitty issue and made it really, really big. And it's not that. If you don't want to play a game based on because they took something like a person smoking, then you wasn't really a fan of the game to begin with. So it ain't no problem with me. I'm still gonna play the game.
Okay, I think the bigger question is like, do you think developers or storytellers have a less creative freedom because of people who are offended by these things?
I do. I think so.
I don't.
Because if I was a developer, 9 out of 10 times there's gonna be some smoking in it. Like if I'm making a game.
But what if there's like you see a bunch of people saying like, oh, there's smoking in this.
And you know what? I'm gonna be like, I know my game, Lady Infamous game, is gonna be an M-rated game. So I will strictly tell these people, especially youth. I forgot it was Tobacco Youth and Youth Anti-Tobacco org. First of all, my game's M-rated, so it's gonna be adult themes in my game. I'm understand if this was like a Nintendo game and it was like Animal Crossing and she came out and she's smoking a cigarette. I understand that, but personally for me, as I'm making a game, if I'm thinking about making a game, am I spending money investing on a game, which is most likely going to be a triple A, in my mind. I want whatever I want in the game, and if I have youth anti-tobacco or people coming to me like, hey lady, we see you got smoking in the game, I'm gonna be like, but it's my game, it's the story that I want to tell. I mean, if it has smoking and it bothers you, you don't have to watch the trailers, you don't have to watch the games, you don't get your kids to play this game because it's an M-rated game. That's just me. What they did with Gear 5 is they just took something from an M-rated game and tried to lower it down so it could appeal to everyone. But that's, like I said, that's how it is in 2019. Usually the best stories is the stories that doesn't have any much restrictions, if you understand where I'm coming from. And then when you got a gang of people just nitpicking on little things, it takes the originality of the game.
I mean, you
know
could
what
say
I
the
mean?
same thing about, what do you call it? What's that game called? Oh, Cyberpunk. Remember in the trailer, the black guy, he was smoking.
Ain't nobody said nothing about that though, right? Ain't
Right.
nobody said nothing about
Yeah.
that though, right?
There's
So
still
it's
plenty of
just
time for it.
Gears.
Yeah.
You know what? They're gonna be all. They're not gonna bend. They're not gonna.
No, of course they're not.
CD Projekt Red is. Not,
Yeah,
they're not.
because
And that's what I like.
they're not an American company. They're a Polish
Nope.
company, and they don't have that same social justice.
But I
don't
mean,
think,
honestly, like,
as
I don't even think we do. I think we do. Like, I'm gonna imagine
no,
that.
I
Like,
know we do.
No,
I
no.
mean,
When I
I
say I
know the
think we do, I'm
Japanese
saying
community. I know the Japanese, like, political movement behind certain things. Like, Japan doesn't really have like a feminist movement,
yeah.
right? But we do here.
Excuse me.
No, but I'm not talking about that. Like, I'm just saying, like for example, with this, I think that's not even. It's not even about a movement as much as it is about, like, I think a lot of people, because there's social media and because, like, the internet, we're all connected. We all know this. Like, I think they give a little bit too much weight to something that doesn't really have much weight at all. Just the fact that it exists for some reason, I think people start to assume that it's as big of a problem as it sounds. I'd imagine like 99% of the people who are going to play Gears of War had no freaking problem with this smoking thing. Like, the fact that it's like some youth smoking coalition or something. Number one, as soon as you said youth, like Lady Infamous said, I'm like, yeah, I wasn't even supposed to be playing the game anyway. Why do you even care? Like, I guarantee you're not old enough to play this game, based on the ESRB rating. But number two, it's like, if you genuinely think about what would have happened if they left that smoking in there, what do you guys think would be the end result?
Sales would have dropped.
They would not have dropped at all.
No, I
guarantee
would
you they
stay the
wouldn't.
same.
They wouldn't.
Nobody, like, I think most gamers are like us, where they're like, part of the problem is that as gamers, because we grew up with it and we've seen the change that's come along with the games industry maturing, we recognize that games aren't toys and they're not just for kids. Like, the fact, to me, if you come and say, oh, there shouldn't be smoking in this game, is because you're treating it like it's a toy and that it's for kids. Like, you would never say that about a movie. Like, if you went and watched like a cyberpunk movie or whatever movie, if you saw Bruce Willis smoking in like The Fifth Element or something like that, no one would ever like say anything about it because they don't think of an R-rated movie as being for kids. But like, the reason why I don't think sales would have been impacted whatsoever is because the people buying it know that they're meant to have like adult themes if they're an adult game. If they're, yeah, like she said, Animal Crossing, sure. I probably would be like, you're still being ridiculous, but that could impact sales. Like, if the parents are like, oh, I don't want my kids playing a game where like this little character that they're using is smoking all the time, but they probably didn't want their kid playing Gears of War because they're chopping people in half with a chainsaw. Like,
but they're not worried about that.
They're worried about the smoking
because that's.
But you know what? The thing is that it's not like it's 8 hours of someone constantly smoking. It's just, it was a cutscene with a character that we don't even know.
And that's what I'm saying. They're giving way too much weight to that. Like, it's like some little group of like kids that have probably started something, and like 150 people joined on and started complaining too. Now all of a sudden it feels like it's a movement, and it's like,
first of all, as a parent, you're not even supposed to be saying that, because you know you want this game to be more pleasable, so you can pay for your kid to play it. I mean, it's a parent thing. It's a parent thing, and look, if I don't have any kids, if my kid wanted to play Gears 5,
it had smoking in it.
Smoking, and I would have to let him know what's in the game. He or she. I keep saying you know, she or he will be like, you know what's in this game, right? And it is not going to be like, oh, I'm just going to give it to you. An M-rated game is like an M-rated movie. You got to earn it. You got to let me know that you're mentally capable enough to understand what's going on in this game. You know what I mean? And kids don't. Probably the kids aren't even worried about the cigarettes or the smoke in the game. They're more worried about the chainsaws and the cover gameplay, if anything. But when you got a group of adults that has some issues with it, and especially with this youth group, it breaks companies, yo. It breaks the originality. It breaks the aesthetics. I feel sad about it personally, because that's where the best stories at. The best stories ain't the cookie cutter, sugar coated shit that's out here. You know, the best stories is the gritty. It's the real. It's the rough. It's the people smoking. It's that's, to me, that's what a good story is. So it's like this. They cried. They cried wolf. Coalition buckled under the pressure and they removed it. And that's it. It's not gonna stop me from playing it. I just think that people who make video games and want to tell a story should be more have more of a backbone of what they trying to display. You feel me? Because it's gonna be another big game, and it's gonna be something else that a bunch of people's not gonna like. And I want to see what that company's gonna do. Are you gonna buckle under pressure and remove it, or are you gonna stand your ground and keep your product the way it is?
Yeah. I
Uh,
mean,
hmm.
I don't know. For all we know, Kojima might be the next person to do something like that. And nobody's going to talk shit about that because it's Kojima.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I know there's gonna be people smoking in that game all day. I know. I didn't see it in a trailer. They showed that dude smoking.
Yeah, the dude with the babies, I'm pretty sure smoked. Like, that's who you're talking about, right? Like that dude that was with that one baby. I'm pretty sure he's smoking in the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
So you think he ain't gonna? And I know Kojima gonna be like, man, fuck y'all. This is my story, and this is how I want to play it, and I'm cool with that.
Do you know how much I was stifled by Konami? I'm not being stifled by you fuckers. I'm making the story I want.
Yeah, I think Kojima now has like one of the thickest skins out there now, huh?
Yeah. I personally think that with this, there really wasn't need to be some sort of anything said about removing tobacco references. Like, I just feel like this is a bigger story than it should be, and I don't really.
Because the keyboard warriors made it big.
The keyboard warriors did make it big.
Did they?
And I am totally behind the thing about like, you know, keeping like creative, keeping the creativity of the developers, you know, open. Don't stifle them. Like, that's a good thing. But I feel like that would just they remove tobacco references. Okay, sure, cool.
What about
like,
drug references or alcohol references or overly sexually scenes?
Yeah,
things like that. It's like video games is gonna start getting more and more want to be more censored, and that's some bullshit.
But the thing is like for this game specifically, it's not gonna do anything to it if they keep it or remove it. What I'm seeing in this article right here is that Turner is promoting the partnership with Truth for this weekend's E-League Gears Summer Series Invitational, which means they have a partnership with Truth, like that there is some money being being traded or services being traded. Something's going on. So like the fact that they did that, I mean, yeah, they could do it, but they could have just removed any sort of tobacco references and not talked about it, and nobody would have been the wiser.
Oh, if they did the partnership with Truth, then it feels like you're singling out the people that play video games and smoke lightweight, because it's like,
But here's what I'm saying is that if say that I made the next Halo game. Nobody you don't know. No, there's no outcry. There's no news article about this. I cut out every single instance that somebody is smoking a cigar or a cigarette. I'm pretty sure that a lot of people are not going to notice that.
Yeah, so I guess maybe, I don't know, maybe since you were reading the article, you know a little bit more. Is it that they did it on account of the complaining, or they did it because of their partnership? Because if it was literally just because of their partnership, the fact that they said anything was stupid. That was completely stupid.
The decision to remove all smoking references from Gears 5 came after the not-for-profit anti-smoking organization Truth Initiative approached Turner, whose E-League's esports division has broadcast rights to the title, about making the change. Turner collaborated with the Coalition to strip out smoking from the game.
So that was some money.
It was money. This is the reason why.
Okay, well, that's different.
So they wasn't even trying to be so they wasn't even trying to be focusing on health. It was an underlining. It was the main focus was like, okay, remove smoking, make the game look a little better through our little partnership.
And Truth will promote will join you in promoting the E-League Gears Summer Series Invitational.
Yeah, so that sounds like different, because to me, I could imagine them being like, if Truth says, yeah, like, we'll work with you if you eliminate all the smoking, I could imagine them just being like, the smoking ain't really that big of a deal anyway. It has nothing to do with anything. It's just part of, like, it's just a decision we made. Somebody's smoking. I can imagine them just saying that. They're just saying, fuck it, it's not even that big of a deal to get rid of it. Then I'm like, whatever, that's fine. I just hope they weren't caving to some social media pressure or something like that, because that's silly.
I mean,
it happened before.
Yeah.
So,
but it sounds like this isn't necessarily.
It just seems like that. But when the next the next paragraph, Rod Ferguson in Lady Infamous said this. I've seen firsthand the devastating impact of smoking. It's always been important for me to not use smoking as a narrative device, which is why we made the conscious choice to avoid highlighting or glorifying smoking in Gears 5 and throughout the Gears of War universe moving forward.
Oh, see, well, that's different, though. Now I feel like he just shouldn't have said that.
Exactly. Like, he didn't need to say anything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the problem is that, like, the way that you just said it, now it sounds like they're telling two different stories. Like, if you're saying that, oh, it's because the Truth Coalition, like, came by and we're doing a partnership with them, then we removed it, that's fine. But if it's like, if you're saying, oh, well, you know, this is an important thing to me, and therefore, like, I removed it and everything in all the instances going forward, I'm like, well, that sounds like that was a choice on you guys. Like, you guys made that choice, but why did it come, like, right at the same time? I don't know. Yet, I would have preferred they just not say anything.
I just thought people found out it was a partnership between Truth and the Coalition, and I think Rob Ferguson was like, you know, let me try to cover my butt a little bit and make it a personal thing.
That's why I don't like it, because it sounds like it's more of a covering my butt thing than it is. Like, this was our, like, creative and personal choice from the start.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining that as Rod Ferguson is saying, I've seen firsthand the devastating impact of smoking. As he's giving the speech, he's being handed this briefcase of $100,000.
Exactly. I met him actually. I
don't think that he's that type of guy. It's more like it's just funny to picture it that way, but I don't think anything should have just been talked about or anything about this.
Yeah, but you know, people gotta say stuff.
If
truth. If I'm truth, I'm like, yeah, you better promote this shit.
But why? I don't know what that does other than, like, create controversy. Like, I don't really see the benefit about talking about this at all. It's like, I don't know.
Hey, Gears 5's coming out in like a month and some change. So, yeah.
Wait, but
like
September.
Yeah, a couple of months. Okay,
yeah. Okay. But I mean, I don't feel like this kind of controversy would make people be like, "Oh, I want to play the game." I can imagine if somebody was like, maybe it'd be the reverse, where they're like, there was smoking in it, and then Truth said, "You guys should not have smoking." And they were like, "Fuck you." Then at that point, I'd probably be like, "Yeah, that's pretty badass. That kind of makes me want to play it." But
do you think this is going to be like some sort of a Streisand effect?
No, I don't think it's really going to have any effect. I just don't get what the point of it was. Like, it just seems like it was, I don't know, it just threw in some kind of moral like argument between like people who want to play the game that isn't gonna really help anything. I think kind of like what Zeldrick was saying, it was like if y'all just took it out and never said a word about it, it'd be the exact same thing. You would have taken your mortal stance if that's what it is. Truth would have gotten what they wanted, and then there wouldn't be like some kind of social media like we need to have drama centered around something so insignificant. Smoking in the game means absolutely nothing to anybody. I don't know. Maybe it's the whole thing of like any press is good press. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll still be playing.
Exactly. It didn't really change. I think any of us who were gonna play, I was gonna play it. I was gonna play whether it was smoking or not. I probably wouldn't even have remembered anybody smoked in the game after I played it anyway. But like now we just have something to say. Oh, do you remember when there was like that whole like thing where people they removed smoking and then people started getting their opinions.
Ha 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 ha! And that shit was stupid. And then we'll continue to play the game.
Yeah.
All right. Let's continue on. Actually, let's start closing this out. Last thing we can really talk about is PrimeDay is tomorrow.
I'm not looking at it. I don't need to spend any more money that I need. That I don't. I'm like thinking in my head on PrimeDay, like, look, girl, what you need? What do you need? What do you need so you can buy it? I don't know, man. I hope they don't. There's some candles I want. I hope they go on sale.
You want candles?
Some candles.
It's these. Look. It's this one called Glade Angel Whispers. It's the shit. I mean, electronically, I have everything I need. It's really a need thing. If anything, probably a PlayStation 4 controller. If they got one on sale, I might cop it because I do need one.
Why do you need one? Did yours break?
My left thumbstick is acting funny on the PlayStation 4 controller.
For me, like PrimeDay hasn't been like, wow, look at all these deals kind of thing like the past few years.
Is there anything in particular you guys are looking for?
Well, I need a new capture card.
I have never had Amazon Prime, nor do I have money for it. So, no, I have never participated with PrimeDay.
You don't have a capture card?
No, I don't have Amazon Prime.
Oh, you don't have Prime.
No.
Sharpie, what kind of capture card are you looking for?
Well, preferably the 4K one, because like a lot of the times if I'm streaming, like it downscales it to 1080 and at 60 hertz because the capture card doesn't, because that's the top limit, and it basically bottlenecks my entire gaming experience from that. So I need to get a 4K one. And besides, the one that I have, it just stopped capturing my PC for some. It still works on PlayStation and the Switch, but it doesn't capture my PC for some reason.
What about you, T? What are you
I've never bought anything on PrimeDay. Yeah, I think it's more just like I'll look to see what's there, and if anything looks intriguing, then maybe. But in my experience, usually on those, maybe with the exception of Cyber Monday, because I feel like there's always kind of something I can find like tech wise. Usually, kind of these sort of big sales days, I'm just like they put a lot of stuff on sale that I don't really want or need. So, I mean, I'll just see. I probably still won't buy anything this year either. I can't think of anything I need per se.
Let's close this out by saying everybody's socials. Let's start off with Lady Infamous first this time.
Oh, all right. Thanks everybody for hearing us out this evening. You can check me at Lady_Infamous30 on Twitter and Lady_Infamous415 on Instagram and Twitch. We just been over 1,000 followers. Shout out to everybody who's been showing me love these past couple of weeks. And we're just going to be gaming some games. That's all. Thanks.
Cool. All right, Zeldrick?
You can find me anywhere as Zeldrick, Twitter at Zeldrick, Zeldrick, twitch.tv/Zeldrick. I'm going to be finishing up Shadowbringers on Tuesday, and then moving right along to Ukulele. That's about it, yeah.
All right. T?
I'm on Twitch at twitch.tv/unsheathedp, UNSHEATHEDP, and the same on Twitter.
And I'm Jay Sharpie. Jay Sharpie on Twitch, Jay Sharpie TV on Twitter. I'm not even going to say my Instagram anymore. You guys can figure that out.
Do it. No, do it.
All right. Instagram at Jay Sharpie with an extra E at the end.
Wait, who is that?
Yeah, I don't know.
With the 2 E's.
Dude, I'm going to say that
One
literally
extra
every time
E.
you say that name.
All right. We'll see you next week. Same bat time, right?
Same time, same
Same,
place.
Should be.
Same time, same place, with a new name, the Cross-Platform Podcast. Hopefully that's not taken anywhere. All right.
I really like it.
All right. See you all laters.